will now be recorded.
I've got 6:30. You can start when you're ready.
Okay, thank you. Good evening and welcome to the November 3rd, 2025 meeting of the Belchertown Select Board. We will start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, it is time for public comment. No one signed up. Did anyone out on the internet want to contribute to public comment? Okay. Then I opened and closed public comment. Okay, do we have documents that need to be signed?
Minutes from October 20th were present.
Okay. Do I hear a motion?
I make a motion we approve the minutes on October 20th, 2025, as written.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Sorry.
Okay. I am adding, I'm adding the role of a municipal select board regarding federal matters to the agenda. So we'll take that up in a little bit. And with that, I will pass it over to you, Steve.
Okay, so up at 6:50, we have the tax classification hearing, so we're 20 minutes away from that. The Division of Local Services is here. I think they're expecting 20, 25 minutes. So what's your pleasure? Do you want to open the hearing a little late, or do you want to move on to some of these other items and circle back to them? You think you can wrap it up by 6:50?
I think Division of Local Services, do you think 20 minutes is enough?
Yeah.
Perfect.
I think that would be great.
Okay, so why don't we do that and then move to the tax classification hearing.
So if I sit right here.
Yeah.
That's what it's there for. Yeah.
Perfect. Well, thank you guys for having us tonight. My name is Jessica Ferry. I'm a project manager with the Division of Local Services, and I'm joined here by Jamie Farnham, who's also a project manager. We are both residents of Palmer, so not a long drive for us tonight. But we're happy to be here in Belchertown to have a conversation about the financial organization review that we did back in April of this year. So I'll talk a little bit about who we are, because I know, John, you were not here on the select board when we did that review. Jen, Lisa, and Nicole, I did have the pleasure of speaking with each of you. So I hope that you've all taken the time to read the review, and we'll get to the opportunity for some questions in a little bit after I explain what the process was and kind of what our general takeaways were. So at the Division of Local Services, Jamie and I work for the Financial Management Resource Bureau, and we do project management and financial management consulting with cities and towns across the state. It's a free service, so municipalities just reach out to us with a request, and we help with financial management best practices. So we've done a financial management review here in Belchertown back in 2021. We've done a financial forecast for Belchertown, and I believe it was 2024. And then this was a financial organization review that was requested by the Selectboard probably back in late 2024. With the intent of looking at how the financial offices operated. So that's what we did here. All other services that we provide, we do capital planning services. We help with budgeting, and we do a lot of trainings with municipal finance staff, and that's really been our most recent focus in FMRB, is that we have been putting together trainings to help develop skill sets in municipal finance staff, which I know that Steve and your accountant have partaken in the financial forecasting training in the past, but we look forward, to inviting the town to future trainings as well. So essentially with this financial organization review that we did earlier this year is we had a conversation right in this room with all of the financial management staff. It was a roundtable discussion really to just talk about how things were going in Belchertown in Town Hall, what were some of the strengths, what were some of the weaknesses, and where were some areas of improvement. And then we took that feedback back, and we also had the conversations with each of you folks and Ed Bosher, who was on the select board at the time, as well as with the finance committee chair, Lori Shea. So through all of those conversations, we were able to come to the conclusion that overall we think that Belchertown, you guys are doing a lot of things really well. I think, having Steve as your town manager, as somebody who has worked for the town for a very long time and has that experience and history with the town, and then moving into the town manager's role, has been able to have a lot of success with his team over the past, what's it been, like 2 years now, 3 years almost, that you've been in the role. So, but we also recognize that there is, there has been some turnover in department heads, and that there will continue to be turnover in department heads due to, impending retirements. So we really looked at how we could best suggest, to best help the community continue to make progress on financial management goals and objectives. Our biggest takeaway was that the town has a very horizontal management structure. So you really have Steve, your town manager, which I think, again, reflecting back on the financial management review that was done in 2021, one of the recommendations was to go from a town administrator to a town manager. And so you guys did take that recommendation and apply it, which was great. So that expands the authority of your, within the office of the town manager, but it's still quite a bit of responsibility for one person to be overseeing all of the department heads. I believe there's 17 department heads that report up to Steve, and the financial offices are obviously a very critical piece of making sure that the day-to-day things can happen in Belchertown, that your police and your fire and your ambulance and your DPW can all do the work that, they need to do to provide services to your residents, that the financial orders really need to be, in tip-top shape. So, but that requires a lot of day-to-day management, and there's a lot of long-term planning, financial planning that is really, when you're in a position like your town manager is, with having so many direct reports, a lot of times that long-term planning can go to the wayside because there are so many immediate day-to-day needs that come up. So we did recommend in the report, the biggest takeaway from the report was that there is a need for additional administrative support with a specific focus on the financial operations. So whether that is a assistant town manager with a role of being a finance director, or at the end of the day, we would just really like to see a stronger financial management role in Belchertown's organizational structure. So that was our biggest takeaway. We did, after we published the report, the town did go through with the override. So I know that that was really a big focus of yours for a period of time, was making sure that, there was, a good understanding of what that override was going to request, and how that was going to be communicated to the public. But in a world where if you had somebody who was dedicated to the financial, day-to-day financial management and long-term planning, something like that override may have, the conversations may have started earlier than they did, and there may have been more structure in discussing what was going to be included, and overall just having a plan for what that override was going to look like, instead of it kind of being a little bit of a reaction, because I believe that the override came more of as a request from the school side to the select board, and then you guys kind of quarterback that to the ballot and to town meeting. So
I don't think that's true. We looked at the town as well as the school.
Yeah.
I don't want, let's not place the blame on the schools.
Oh, no,
Okay.
I don't, sorry if
All
that's
right.
the way that it was portrayed, but I think that, from my understanding, was that it was, the biggest portion of the override was to support the schools. So there was, a lot of conversation about that, the timeliness of it to support the school's budget. And so but again, to go back to the original thought, was that if there was some more long-term planning, that conversations about an override would have started much earlier than they did. So those are just some ways that if you had a employee that was dedicated to overseeing the, finance offices, could help support with the long-term planning, such as capital planning, forecasting, policies, and more. So that is a little bit on what we did here, and I'm happy to take any questions, feedback.
I have a question for you. What qualifications do you normally see in terms of schooling and professional experience for someone who is an assistant town manager / finance director?
Yeah, so that's a great question. We a lot of times you would see somebody who may have come from an accounting background, or ideally, right, in a perfect world, you would have somebody who had municipal experience and had experience in a finance office in another community, and that can look different for a lot of towns where you might have. And I think this is the beauty of municipal government, is that everybody's path is a little bit different. But a lot of times what we see in Massachusetts is that somebody is working in a smaller town and they work their ways up the ranks. Maybe they start as an assistant accountant and they move to accountant. And because they're just in a smaller community with a limited capacity, they are there's no more upward mobility, right? There's not a finance director role. There's not an assistant town manager role. So that person may be looking for more growth in their career, and that they would go and work for a bigger community like Belchertown and take on a role like assistant town manager, finance director. And as far as schooling goes, I would say a master's degree would be appropriate, master's in public administration, but also, a master's in accounting would be appropriate as well. It really depends on what that person's motivations are. I say accounting because I think that's a pretty common thing that we see, but there's the treasure collectors that have similar motivations, and I know that there's some communities that treasure collectors hold the role of a finance director as well. So that is the case in some communities as well. Yeah, Jen.
Hi, Carrie. Did you guys consider director of finance and operations? Because we have some onesies, like HR and like the grants management position.
Communications.
I mean, those could also sort of fall under like operations/finance.
Yeah,
I've
so
seen that in the private sector.
yes, so I did in the report, I did recommend that the town consider also, because this was at the time where the structure also included a part-time grant manager and a part-time communications person. And it's great that Belchertown has those services and identifies that as a priority, but it can be really hard to find people who want to work part-time in these roles and keeping them for a long period of time, right? It's a very small portion of the population who are looking for part-time work in this day and age. So the title of the role is very flexible. In the report, we call it Assistant Town Manager, Finance Director, just because that's a trend that we see in other communities. But it's a very flexible title, but similar responsibilities, right? And I know I didn't include Palmer as a community in the analysis because Palmer is a little bit small, smaller enough for me to not include it in the analysis, but they just hired a director of administrative services they aren't taking on a finance director role, but they are taking on some of those special projects, operations, communications, responsibilities. So I definitely, as a part of the report, I do think that those responsibilities could be wrapped in very nicely into that role.
Different.
When you take into account just some of the budget constraints that the town may be looking at in the near future, as well as I had mentioned that finding people for part-time roles and having them hold those roles for a long period of time is just can be challenging. You might find yourself with a revolving door in those roles.
Sorry, what about HR? Like, do you see HR pairing with this subsection or not?
As having HR report to this person, or have it all wrapped into one
Wrapped
role?
into like one, because
Well, and I'm also looking at economic development. I mean,
Well-
but these are the things, here's the thing, this is a recommendation that came from working with the
no, I
finance
understand.
department.
But like
It's not
HR
taking into
deals with like payroll
consideration.
and money and comp and benefits. So that's why I'm curious. That's why I'm asking specifically about HR.
Yeah, no,
in
I think
relation to these pieces.
so. I think your points are very valid because the HR does have a hand in some of the finance pieces, like you mentioned, benefits and payroll. I think it would be with the expectation and the size of Belchertown, it would be probably too much of a workload to incorporate all of those roles, especially if you're thinking about grant management and
Yeah,
communications.
no, I'm not suggesting that we roll that in. I'm just saying to put it on. It's fine.
Oh, so it's still a
Like,
separate
it's
role.
still separate role. HR has. I mean, she needs support also. I mean, we just
Right.
don't have money, right? Like, so I'm just
Right.
saying to have, if this was like a operations and finance director, and then you have accounting and treasurer collector and HR underneath that umbrella. That was my question.
Oh, sure. I would have to put some thought into that. I'm not sure that a lot of towns do have that type of structure, but it's a good thing to think about for sure.
That was
You
my
have to be careful with HR too, just because of all of the
legal stuff.
yeah, the
personnel
I mean,
stuff.
I think we take this with a grain of salt,
No,
because
yeah.
we have other needs that are competing, and if we're looking at a finance director, that's what they're good at.
Mm-hmm.
They're good at finance, and if you start adding communications, grant writing, I can make a case for, but communications, HR, and economic development, it feels like we're moving some of the stuff that is driving Steve crazy onto a new person.
Right.
So what I'm doing with this is listening, and I think what we have to do as a board is consider everything and see if this is what is going to fit for us.
Yeah, no, and I greatly appreciate that. And I know that, so the reports that we give to our communities, these are a recommendation based off of just our experience and our, the resources that we have to kind of look at what other communities are doing across the state, and also taking into account what Belchertown's current
Sorry,
situation is. So.
only because we have like almost no time.
Sure.
I
John,
have one more question.
and I have a question too, so
When you pick
could
the
we
towns
wait
to
5
compare
minutes
to
on
Belchertown,
this?
how do you decide, like, Clinton, East Long Meadow, Northbridge, how do you
Yeah.
pull those communities to compare to Belchertown? A lot of residents are asking that, like, how do we know we're comparing to the right towns?
Yeah, so at the Division of Local Services, we collect an incredible amount of data from our communities, and what we really focused on here was the budget size and the population as being the main drivers for comparable towns.
Does that go into, like, the school side too, or is it just population, like 15,000 residents versus like 10,000 students, or is that just for a whole population as a whole? Do you consider that?
Yeah, so for this report, we really just focused on the overall population.
Thank you.
And so for the people who are listening, the towns we were compared to was Charlton, Wilbraham, Clinton, East Long Meadow, Northbridge, and South Hadley.
And we also try to take into account, like we wouldn't compare, if there's a town of similar population and budget size on like Cape Cod, for example, or the North Shore, we wouldn't really consider those communities just because they have unique challenges that are related to like tourism and coastal impacts and whatnot. So but those were the communities that we came up with.
So my question is on a different subject. You talked about shared services and regionalization, and you are especially interested in talking about, what is the term again? What did you call this? It's
Intermunicipal.
Yeah,
Cooperation.
intermunicipal services
Yeah.
as opposed to regional services.
So intermunicipal
No,
agreement.
I get it.
Yeah.
So here's the question. So in doing a deeper dive on this, what I got was that the intermunicipal idea is good for trying out ideas, seeing if they work, testing them, and it's good for short term, 1 to 3 years. What I further read was, okay, then there's a medium and a long term, that you would move from an intermunicipal agreement to a regional approach. They're saying that long term, a regional approach is more cost effective, but that the intermunicipal approach would be more cost friendly for short term. So what wasn't in this was an understanding. It says it in the in the heading, shared services and regionalization. Are you saying that we would regionalize elder services, information technology, libraries, public health, transportation, and veteran services?
So those were just those weren't recommendations specifically for Belchertown. Those were in general some common areas that we see these intermunicipal service agreements or regionalization happening. And so those are just some areas that you may be interested in exploring.
And do you provide cost-benefit analysis on this? And really, even more than the cost-benefit analysis, what I'm interested in is, how is this going to deepen the value proposition between town government and its residents? I can see how sharing services would be great, but understanding how is going to make a great impact on the people who live here, will certainly, I think, go a long way for people to understand what they're getting with this. Because I think there's going to be a sense that you're taking away what's local, you know, and in favor of something that's no longer within our local control.
Sure.
So I just wanted to sort of get that out in the open. I actually think that trajectory is, it can be good. I don't know if it's good for all of those.
Oh, no, not
But
necessarily.
I do want it to be understood that that it is the whatever is really a short-term solution. It is not something, you know, it moves towards a trajectory of regionalization.
Yeah, so that's great. I know we have limited time. I'd love to talk so much more about.
No, and you
shared-
don't have to. I just kind of want to make sure it's out there.
Yeah, no, I would just say from my experience, I was a previous town administrator, and in the community that I was in, I was managing, I believe, 5 intermunicipal agreements, regional services type.
Yeah, you were in a small town.
Very small town,
Yeah.
right? So, but those are like
Yeah.
those. That's
But I
where
agree.
we start. That like in
Absolutely.
Massachusetts, it's going to be near, within the next couple of years, very challenging for even the smallest communities. Never mind the medium-sized communities like Belchertown to provide some of these really critical services at a a high-quality level that our residents have come to expect, and will, especially if the economy changes and services, at the senior center, for your veterans. At your libraries, like those are the services that communities deeply rely on in hard economic times, because they need more resources to be able to survive. So, but I can just speak from experience when I was in a very small town that we had several intermunicipal agreements, and I think that we were able to provide a better quality service for our community, and that means more hours at the senior center, more public health resources, right? A public health nurse, which we didn't have access to previously. So just things like that. Can, even though it really depends on what communities you partner with, and then where those community, how those services are deployed, are really up for negotiation. And I think that's, one of the most critical parts about when negotiating these intermunicipal agreements, is that you want to always keep in mind that the services that your residents are paying for through their taxes and are receiving are going to be up to the expectation that they deserve.
Mm-hmm. So I just wanted you to get the broad picture, though. It's not just like that's where the trajectory is, and I think what you did in the community you were in, that's excellent, and maybe that's something we do, but there's a control piece that we lose, so I want us to be cognizant
I
of
think
that.
right now for us, we've got to focus on where it hurts the most, the big need, and I think that's a finance director, and I think we just have to keep talking about what that looks like for us and where we find the money to accommodate that. I think that's what I took from this report. I kind of took the rest of it as an aside.
No, I'm not going to take it. I just think that it affects too many departments. So.
No. I'm taking this as an aside, the intermunicipal as an aside. To me, this is not what's on my radar right now. What's on my radar is this finance director role and what it would look like. And I think we've got to start picking up that conversation again.
I think they're both important. Because here's the other truth. Municipal workforce turnover is higher than ever. I look on the Mass Municipal website, and there are job openings from several months ago that are going unfilled. So
I don't agree with that.
We have good employee retention.
I'm not talking about our town, but I am talking about stress. And the fact that the pool of municipal, the pool of people who would take municipal jobs are getting, it's getting smaller. The jobs are getting harder, and the resources are not there. So,
I think this is all good information, and I think
Yeah.
we say that finance director talk to budget
Yeah.
season, and we move on with the agenda. Sorry, I know we have people staying.
Can I just ask
Yeah.
one question?
Yeah.
Sorry.
Well, the DLS is here, please.
yeah.
So the report talks about a financial director slash assistant town manager, what that looks like, we can talk about. But we've also talked about our grants manager, which is a 25-hour-a-week position, our communications manager, which is 19 hours a week, economic development, HR, and I am starting to feel that we're gonna try to put too much into one position. So I guess the question I have for the DLS before they go tonight is a strict financial director slash assistant town manager. How many hours a week do you think that role would take? How much do we have to work with?
I mean, with the recommendation of including grant management and communications, I would certainly say that would be a full-time 40-hour-a-week position. Especially, I mean, if you're already, budgeting 25 hours and for grant management and 19 hours for communications, I've already established that there's a significant need for those responsibilities. But
We're already doing 60 hours of time approximately, with a 40-hour position that's in charge of finance and helping town manager duties.
right,
How do we make 100 hours of time into 40?
right. I mean, that's always,
That's what we're gonna have to do. I
Right.
mean, to John's point, and I've said it too, that's the next steps for the board.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When I think about it, it means that grants and communications is gonna be condensed. We're not gonna get 60 hours of time out of a person doing those two tasks, plus
Yeah.
supervising finance.
And I know that when we were formalizing this report, that those two positions, the communications and grant management, were still in their infancy. So I think that now you have more data to understand what the real demand is for those folks. And, I think in the context of this conversation and looking forward to FY 27, really evaluating, if those positions are truly 25 and 19-hour-a-week positions. And so I think just doing some evaluation over the next, couple of months and seeing, when you're looking at a priority list of what needs to get done in the town, sure, I'm sure you can make 25 hours worth of work and 19 hours worth of work. There's no shortage of work in local government in any of our positions, right? But it's really just about prioritizing what the community really needs in services. And I think that right now, given the most recent override and the fact that the community is still using free cash to fund the budget and some of the long-term financial planning needs that have to happen, I would lean towards the side of those long-term planning goals should probably be at a higher priority, while also, managing some of the communications and the grant management. I always think grant management is something that communities can all do so differently. Some communities, they have a person where that is their sole responsibility, but then other communities, that person might act as a liaison to department heads and help empower department heads to make sure they're more of an audit to the grant management process, whereas you're empowering your department heads through the application process and making sure that there's processes and policies in place to make sure that everybody understands what the expectation is when applying for grants and managing grants. And, a person in this role may be more of a supporting role to the department heads versus, what the role is now. So I think those are all part of the conversation that needs to be had.
And it's all about money. So,
Everything's about money.
all right, thank you very much. Does anybody else have anything?
Yeah, of course.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you so much for having us.
Okay. Do you want to? He left. All right,
Mike, do you know where John went?
No,
okay.
he just left.
Must have forgot something.
Yeah.
All right,
You want to take?
Thank you.
what do you want to do?
Can we do a discussion for holiday closing?
Yeah, why don't we pick up a couple of the little ones? Requests for holiday closings. Thanks, John.
Sorry.
I'm gonna have a couple questions on that one.
Oh, you are?
Yeah, I know you thought it would be a fast one, but I actually have a couple questions.
All right. How about request to place signs on town property?
I'm good with that one.
All right.
It's coming back.
Oh, here he is. Okay. It always happens that way. So,
Jay, will you talk to me today like I'm two when we go through this? Because I remember going through it last year and just,
You're an expert.
right, and I don't remember, I understood it last year, but a year has gone by. I need a refresher.
you will get it. You will get it. You know more than you think.
Anyone hear me okay?
Yep.
Actually, you should probably speak into that so that the folks at home can hear.
Well, I can start while he's getting that up.
Go to your
That's
windows.
That's it. Yeah.
Go back. Go to window. So it's you.
Oh,
You
yeah.
have it on Chrome tab.
That's why, I can't read sideways.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. All right. Perfect.
Yeah, well, that's just a cover letter. So, welcome to the fiscal year 26 tax classification hearing. So tonight the assessors will participate with the Selectboard in setting a tax rate. The purpose of the hearing is to provide information and data regarding the allocation of the property tax levy among residential and commercial property owners. The hearing is an open forum regarding local property tax policy, and any persons wishing to express an opinion on this matter will have an opportunity to do so in person, virtually, or in writing. Historically, the Select Board has chosen a single tax rate, which is a factor of 1. So tonight, really, what we're talking about tonight is just we're going to provide examples on the valuations, the tax rate, the tax levy, and just the laws that those pertain to. You want to go to the second page?
Do you know what that means, a factor of 1?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So this is the first page. So this is the first page of the tax recap. So this is really the budget formula that we're utilizing right now for the fiscal year. So 1A is the total amount of revenue to be raised. So in theory, that's our budget. $68,902,254. 1B is the estimated receipts, which is money from state aid, other sources of revenue. And then 1C is the tax levy, which is the amount of money raised through local property taxation. So if you go down to,
Is that last year? Is that FY '26?
this is the current, yeah, this is the current
So you're
information.
expecting that all of the money collected for FY '26 will be the 30.78?
Well-
from taxes?
Yeah, this is the money, this is the money that's been appropriated through town meeting.
Already.
Town meeting,
Okay.
okay? 38,117,000. Okay. So basically, that number just comes from column D, which is the assessed value, the total assessed value in town, which is $2.5 billion in value. Okay, so that's your total. So residential, commercial, industrial, personal property equals $2.5 billion, and the
You
tax.
already lost me. I need you to go through this chart.
Start at the top, I guess.
This is all the different ways that we've
No,
been.
but I want him to
Okay,
tell
all
me.
right.
I want to
So I
hear.
have, okay, so we'll start at D, the residential taxable value, okay? So residential, column D. Okay, so that's all the residential class in town. Single family, two family, condominiums, vacant land. So it's $2.3 billion, okay? 2,360,601,399. Okay, the commercial value going down, 79,189,385.
Okay, so that's the valuation.
The valuation.
You're timesing it by the tax rate to get.
I'm not timesing it by anything yet. You're
That's how
right?
you're getting to column F, correct?
I'm not there yet.
Okay, all right, go ahead.
I'm on the values.
Okay,
Okay, industrial, 15,315,950. Again, the personal property, 64,250,292. So the total, $2.5 billion in value.
okay.
Okay, so that's the assessed value in town. Those values are approved by the Department of Revenue. She just left. Okay, so then the tax levy, so there's a breakdown per the classification. So the residential class makes up, which is column B, 93.69%. So that's residential percentage. The commercial percentage in column B going down. I don't have a pointer to point. 3.1%. Industrial 0.60. There's not many industrial properties in town. And personal property, which is our utilities for the most part, 2.5%. So again, the residential percentage historically, that makes up the predominant class. Okay, so basically, that's that's what we are. We're a bedroom community. So then the tax rate, if you go down column F, so you take in the levy, okay, so that's 1C, and down at the bottom of F, it's the same number. So you're taking the tax levy, 38,117,856. Divide that by the total assessed value in town, and the single rate is $15.13. Any other questions on that? So it's just factual data.
You're probably going to get to this, so if this question, you'll say later, I'll get to that. Has the percentages changed, like from last year to this year, by anything?
Nominally, yeah,
Okay.
because, whatever, we had
It's about the same?
commercial growth in town, but
Yeah,
the residential growth offsets that.
okay.
So, yeah, it's always around that, we're always 93 to
Okay.
95%. It's just, that's really never going to change. And the next page, this is information from last year. So just comparison sake, I just got the tax rates for surrounding communities. So again, this is fiscal year 25 taxes and values and levies. So it just gives you a perspective of where Belchertown stands compared to our neighboring communities. Amherst, the tax, again, this is last year, average tax bill in Amherst last year was $9,600. I guarantee this year for 26 it's going to be $10,000. I guarantee that. Wilbraham, so Amherst is always higher than us. Wilbraham is always higher than us. So Wilbraham last year was the average tax bill was $7,900. So that'll be $8,000 this year too. I just highlight some of the communities. Our levies are similar to South Hadley. Last year's levy was $34,598, $464, and South Hadley was $34,221, $084. So they're very similar. Our average tax bills are similar to Granby's,
Yeah.
$6,000, Southwick, $6,000. And then their valuations, again, were similar to Granby, and we're similar to Southwick. So those are the most comparable towns in terms of the data. Again, you look at Amherst's tax levy, $67 million. So that's what their budget is going towards. So, any other questions on that page?
Well, I mean, we're lower than,
I know.
all the towns we just
I know.
mentioned.
And then the next page, Steve. So the next page, so page 4, I just have, I got some handouts in the back here. Can you pass those out to the audience?
Yeah, sure.
So, I'm sorry. The next page, again, I just have the average tax bill the last couple of years.
Sure.
So it's just, it's creeping up. So fiscal year 22 is $5,400. So it goes up around $200 a year. 5,400, 5,600, 5,800. We went over the 6,000 range last year. So you can see that coming. So that's a slow, steady progression. And then I'll get to the bad part coming up.
Next page.
Next page, okay.
I guess the bad stuff's on.
Here where it starts getting dicey, yeah.
Okay.
All righty. Let's see, we're gonna zip right down to it.
Is this what he just handed out?
We have the same stuff in our bag.
Yeah, you should. Thank you, Mike. So we're on page 5, everyone in the audience. So we'll start from the top. So number 1, so again, this is 2025, the levy limit, the FY24 levy limit. Okay, so $33,438,276. So that's 1A. So our 2025 new growth was 1C, 357, 129. Let me back up. You take the 33,438, 276, times it by 2.5%. So that's where we get. So 1C. So last year we were able to raise $835,957. So that's what the state law allows us to raise.
Can we stop?
Yeah.
I'm confused again.
Yep.
Yep, me
Okay.
too.
So can I just clarify the bigger picture here? We're doing a class taxification hearing to set the rate for FY27, correct?
26.
26.
But 26 is July of
We're
this
in
past
FY26.
year. Okay, so when you're doing it for assessing purposes, we're still in the same year? Because we've been talking about FY26 budget for 6 months now.
If you remember, when you get your tax bills,
Yep.
your first 2 quarter tax bills are estimated, and then we set the tax rate for that fiscal year, and the final 2 tax
Okay.
bills are actual.
So it runs on a little bit of a different schedule
Correct.
than, okay.
Yes, because
Right.
they need to have our budget in place before they can set the tax.
Okay, so then my next question is, on the first page that had this darker chart, we ended up at the 38.1,
Yep.
and now when we come to this, we're back at 33.
3.4. So what is the difference there?
You're looking at 2024 right here. So that's 2024 is 34. So that's, see that, see the year?
Yeah, I see
So
the.
that was 34. The one in the front is 20.
Okay, so those two numbers are not related at all?
No, because it's
Okay.
different years.
Last year, you wanted me to start from the very
So,
top, so that's,
I-
I'm starting from.
I
the-
want you to start.
That's what I'm
'cause I
doing.
literally got lost, and I do want to hear, okay.
When we talk about a levy, there's three thresholds. There's the ceiling, there's the levy limit, and then there's our
Yeah,
tax levy.
yeah, I'll get to that.
So,
Yeah, I remember we talked about that last year, and I
So these are, this is the calculations, okay? It's the same formula. We're going back a fiscal year, okay? So we're in fiscal year 26 now. I'm going back to 25. Because last year I was asked to start from the top. So that's what I'm doing again this year, okay? So we're in we're in FY 25. Okay, we're not in 26 yet, okay? So we're taking the 24 levy limit. We're adding in 2.5% by state law. We're adding in the new growth. And we come up with 1E. So that's the amount to be raised. $34,631,362. So that was so the FY25 levy limit, which is on the right there. 34,631,362. So that's the amount of money you can raise in taxation without an override
Okay,
for last year. Okay, so that's the maximum you could raise without an override or a debt exclusion. Okay, so now we're going to go to 2. So now we're up to 26, FY 26 levy limit. So again, you're starting with last year's levy limit. Last year's limit, like you said, is 34,631,362. Again, the definition of that is that's the maximum amount of money you can raise through taxation without an override or a debt exclusion. So that's where we start. We add in our 2.5%. Again, by state law, they allow you to raise that. 865, 784. So that's the number that the communities are saying is not enough. That doesn't give us enough money to operate.
right.
Okay, the $800,000. Okay. So that's what they give us according to the law. So we can raise that, and then we can raise our amount of revenue and new growth. Okay, so it's consistent with the prior year. For 25, it was 357. This year it's 382 in growth, so that's good. Steve's always asking me, what's the growth figure? So I'll get it to you. Okay, so then we go down 2D. So here's our override. So if you can see the year before, 25, the calculation, it stopped. You had your levy limit plus 2.5% plus new growth. This year we added another column. We added the override. So we raised, so the voters passed the override $2,894,400. Okay, so that, in theory, that override allows the town to raise additional taxation. It allows the town to raise additional taxes, okay? Because again, you can only raise it 2.5% each year. So you're taking last year's levy limit times 2.5% plus new growth, and that's the formula you're stuck with, unless you do an override. Go ahead.
So for new growth, it was just under 400,000,
Yeah, so that's revenue. So that's your
but
taxable.
the new growth was over last year was 400,000.
Last year, the new growth, you go back to 1C, was 357, 129.
Okay, so we went up like 30,000.
Yeah, so this year, yeah.
And is that
So that-
business or is that residential?
It's
Or is that everything?
everything.
It's everything. Okay,
Yeah, last year we had the state change some of our building codes, and there was
Okay.
a run on building permits. ahead of that. But
Okay,
they-
all right.
So that's why we saw an uptick in new growth, because people were trying to get their houses up before.
Oh, okay.
This came into place. I'm expecting we're gonna see that drop a little bit this year. But we'll be talking about that in a year from now.
You expect it to drop?
But there's other new growth that's coming in.
There is, but I don't know if we're gonna match this.
Oh, okay,
It's been steadily declining
yeah.
over the last
Yeah.
10 years.
Let me get to that.
Yeah.
Okay,
I have another page.
carry on, Jay.
I have another
I have,
page.
so this is probably projecting for FY '27. The levy limit for FY '27 would be 38,774, 456, and that's how it would start.
That's where we're gonna start.
Okay, so
Yeah.
that would be another 2.5. So I'm just saying, so
So
the
you got
rest,
2.5 to that.
so
plus
that
new
could
growth.
be a huge
Well,
increase in 2 years. The
Yeah.
residents need to understand that.
Yeah.
Not
Yes,
this year, but
maybe the net following,
Yes.
that's true,
so I just want to
that's true,
make that public knowledge. there.
yeah. I just want to see it next year.
Yeah, so the growth has been, it's been going down the last couple of years, but it's still consistent. You know, there's no wide swings or anything. Okay, so I'm down to 3E. So again, the blueprint, we're getting there. So last year's levy limit, times 2.5% plus new growth, plus the override. So our levy limit this year is 38,774,456. So that's the amount of money that the town can raise through taxation, the maximum amount. And then there's one more calculation, 3B, that's the debt exclusion. There's like a roof hanging out there that we're paying off, slowly paying off. The high school used to be on this line. It was $1 million, 20 years or so. So now it's just a nominal amount.
So this is for a roof, the 22? That's what's left
Yeah,
on the debt
y-
exclusion?
yeah.
What roof?
Just-
One of the schools, yeah. So it's slowly coming off. So you're taking your levy limit. So again, let's pretend the debt exclusion is paid off. Okay, so the 38,774,456. That's the maximum amount of money we could raise through taxation. Okay, so we went up from 34.6 to 38.7 because of those three calculations: the 2.5%, the growth, and the override. Then we're adding in the roof that we stated. So now our maximum allowable levy is 38. So that's going to be 3G. So it's 38,796,662. Okay. Got any questions on that? So the Proposition 2.5 law locks you in. You can only raise it limits the amount of money you can raise year to year unless you do an override. The next page, I just got some more. These are factual data. So I'm just comparing FY25 average valuations and average tax bills to FY26. So the values went up. They've been going up the last 10 years. They're still going up 5 to 10% basically for the single-family homes. So the average values went up across the board, and I did two calculations. So the current tax rate, which is on the first page of your packet. So the average tax bill this year, it's going up from $6,012 to $6,622. Okay, so a $600 increase. That's what we estimated nine months ago or so when we were exploring the override figures.
What's the value of the average house right now at this moment?
It's right there, 437.
437.
Oh, no,
703.
right now, at this moment.
I'm not worried about.
I just
This
want to
moment.
know.
I don't have that figure for you. because these values are based upon the 2024 sales. 1125 or FY26. So I did another calculation on what the override meant to the taxpayers. So basically, if we didn't have an override, the average bill, single-family bill, would have been $6,219. Okay, and so the override added $400 to the average property in town, single-family town. Okay, so I'm just doing the calculation for you. So again, the average bill would have went up $200, which is consistent with the last 15 years, basically. So the override added $400 to the average single-family tax bill. Any questions? We're getting there. I just have some more data. I'm a data geek. So I'm going back 4 years just for comparison purposes. You're asking about the new growth. So 2023, Steve mentioned our growth was higher previous years. So our new growth was 470,000, went down to 396, 357, and we had an uptick to 382. So it's trending downward a little bit. It's still healthy though. And then our tax levy, again, that's been going up. It can only go up so much per year because of the Proposition 2.5 law that we talked about. So the levy's going, 32,236, 33,400, 34,600. I'm just going to round it, and then we see that bump to 38 million. Okay. So you're just seeing the levy increase. So you're seeing, again, because of the calculations, the levy is going up, $1 million a year. So that's due to the 2.5% plus a new growth. So 1.3 million, 1.1 million, 1.1 million, and then boom, 2026, I highlighted it. So we're going up 3.5 million, okay? Okay, any other questions with that? I'm gonna get real complicated now, okay? Okay, so excess levy capacity. So again, that's the amount of money. If you go back, see, can you go back to, let me see what page. The first, page 2.
The tax
Yeah.
rate recapitulation, okay.
Page 2. Thank you. So our levy that we talked about, so our current levy for FY26 is 38,117,856. So that's current in the budget. That's what our tax bills are based on. If you go to page 5, page 5 on the bottom, we have our maximum allowable levy. So it's 38,796,662. So the difference, Steve, can you go back? Page 7, thank you. Back to page 7. I got you guys bumping around. Sorry. So page 7. So now we're going. So I highlighted excess levy capacity, 678,805. So that's our excess levy capacity. So that's the amount of money that we could tax this year, and we're not. So we're leaving that on the table for this year. So you can see it's not consistent with the prior years. We're always between, 20 to 60,000. If you excess levy capacity for 23, 28,000, 24, 42, 25, 60. So that's kind of the ballpark. I've seen less than that. So, that's the money that we're not raising in taxation, that we could. This year,
Because we didn't use the full override.
yeah,
Yeah, if the board
So you-
remembers, that money is reserved for the firefighters that are funded through the Safer Grant, and ambulance lease, and the grant manager
Yep.
salary. So that was FY '27 needs, so it's not being taxed this year.
So it means taxes would have gone up more for the
Yeah.
residents. So this
Yeah.
is,
it could have been more.
could have been more,
Could have been more.
a lot more than 10%. And next year it'll be even higher. It'll still be an increase.
Will it be higher?
Because you still have to tax the
It won't be
678.
10% though. It won't be 10%.
That's what, yeah.
But it'll still be
Say that again,
significantly
complete that
higher.
sentence, you still have
So
to tax the what?
you still have to tax $600,000 more next year.
Next, yep.
Plus the
okay,
tax levy's higher, so it's gonna be more than a 3% increase
Okay.
next year. Roughly, right? I'm just giving rough figures for you.
We'll
That
about
makes
that
sense.
next year.
Unless we propose an underride, correct?
You could do that. I don't recommend you do that. My professional recommendation is not to do that. You could just not raise it. So,
So you could choose not to do the 2.5, that $2.8 million.
Yeah.
You could just leave it there and not
you can leave
tax
it there. Yeah,
If that makes sense.
that's what I
Okay,
recommend.
yeah.
That's what I
Yep.
recommend.
Doesn't
yeah.
make sense.
Okay.
So, okay, so we're leaving that on the table, the 678, 805, 800. So get our tax rates, again, the average single-family value, it's been creeping up like the rest of the state, the same percentage as the rest of the state, really. And the average single-family bill, we already went over, that's been going up $170 to $200 a year, again, for the average tax bill. Statewide, the average tax bill is like $7,000, so we're still under the statewide. So the average single family bill for the state for FY '25 last year was $7,700. So,
Yeah, but Boston's,
oh, I know,
their
yeah, and then,
average
yeah.
is $1 million,
Yep, yep.
for housing, so.
Yep. So again, we're getting the net change that we talked about. So that's the average tax increase. Again, the $200 range, which that's what it would have been this year without the override. Okay, so the average bill is going up $600, $610. Again, the average tax bill is going up around 3 to 4% a year, and that's going up this year to 10%. Again, that's due to the override. Did I lose anyone yet?
No, actually, you were really great.
Okay.
You were very good with us.
Steve, can you go?
Thank you.
So this is cockeyed. Yeah, sorry for the viewers. This is on our website too. You can look at it. I just put in all the override wins this year for FY26, and all the override losses. Okay, so we're not the only ones in this boat. So the wins, I'm surprised you had wealthy communities going for overrides.
Very soon.
The town of Georgetown had an override for operating expenses, $6 million. Linfield, $4.6 million. Milton, $8.8 million. So those passed. And we had on the other side losses. City of Bridgewater had an $8 million override, was defeated. Northbridge, $4.9 million override for schools, that failed. Stoneham, I don't know what happened there. They had a $14 million override proposed. I don't know what happened there. I should Google that when I get home.
Did Granby had an override, didn't they? Or
They had a Dennis
voted
Cruise a
on it?
number of years ago for the school. Hadley was on the
failed.
first list.
Hadley failed.
Hadley was the only one around this location that I'm aware of.
I think there's some other communities now that are looking at override.
Yeah, Hadley, it's on this page here with the losses. I'm sorry, it's cockeyed. Hadley had a general operating override, $2.2 million that failed big. And it had a $300,000 override for capital equipment. $300,000, that failed big.
Yep.
So I know they have layoffs going there as far as I'm aware of coming up.
Hatfield's one here.
So next year you might see more. Again, that the Proposition 2.5, the constraint is tying the community's hands. It's not just Belchertown. See if you can go one more page. So these are basically our, for one rate, these would be our choices. I just went 10% increments. So factor of 1, no shift. So it's equal rate, $15.13 per thousand. If you went up 10%, if you had a factor, okay, of 10%. So basically, when you're doing that, you're increasing the commercial taxes and you're lowering the residential taxes, okay? So that state allows you to do that. Really, the cities do it, not the towns. So if the max increase would be 50%, so the maximum commercial rate that it could go up, it would go from $15.13 to $22.70. And the residential rate would go down from $15.13 to $14.62, okay? So that would be the max, the 50%, that would be the maximum you could do.
Do we have the average valuation on commercial?
Yeah, that was on
What's that chart?
Oh, okay.
Color
So-
chart?
page 6.
Yep.
Page 6, right? Yep.
Yep.
I numbered them this year. Last year I forgot to number them.
So if we took commercial and we chose to go with the shift to the 50%, just as a maximum, what are we looking at for an increase for the average, for the business based on the average value?
Yeah. If you go to the next page, it kind of gives you a quick calculation. I don't have my calculator. So with the single rate, we're at $15.13. The problem is there's not enough commercial value to make it worthwhile.
Don't you have to have, what is the minimum?
I mean, it depends on your overall valuations of your community. You know, the cities will do it. You know, Chicopee, Holyoke, Springfield. You know, the commercial rate in Holyoke is $40 a thousand.
No, I mean for Belchertown, like where,
What the
Under
percent? We
that,
would have
right?
to be, you know, in mid 20s.
yeah,
You know, Northampton I think is like 28%.
we're a long way off.
Yeah, they have one rate in Northampton. If Northampton has one rate, why would we have
Yeah.
one rate? Why would we have two? Just
Exactly.
doesn't
If you're
make
trying to
sense.
attract new business, it's
It's
not good.
not.
I
It's not
agree.
good.
I agree.
I just want to
We
know
don't
what the
wanna do
number
that.
is.
Yeah.
But-
So this calculation just sort of shows it, you know, for every dollar increase of the CIP rate, your residential rate only goes down 7 cents. I think I did a quick calculation. If we went to the max, I think the average commercial will go up like $300, and the average residential will go down $30 for the
It's not
year.
worth it.
It's not worth
For the year. I'm not talking a month, like for the year. So we just don't have enough of it. It's really a non-starter, my humble opinion. You know, you would have to have, you know, if you see the towns that have mixed rates, they're going to be wealthier communities on the 495 belt, or they're going to be the larger cities. I think our board wants to make a statement before I go any further.
We're recommending that the rates stay at 15-13 across the board for residential, commercial, industrial, and personal property taxes.
Yeah.
That's our recommendation.
So that's our
It
recommendation,
makes
but
sense.
you guys are the bosses. So that, you want to go back to any other pages that I went over kind of quick?
I think we're good,
happy to
I
right?
know
answer.
you're gonna have to do this again next year with me. 'Cause I'm not gonna remember.
The number, yeah, it's when, the numbers, the process will stay the same. The numbers change. You won't have the override next year. So the override, that calculation on page 5, so you won't have the override. You're gonna start with your, as Mr. Ritter said, you're gonna start at your levy limit, 38,774,000, and you're gonna add in your 2.5%, which will probably be $1 million to start, plus your new growth. So you won't have that one extra calculation won't be there. Other than that, the process will be the same.
Now, can you re-explain something? So you said earlier that as a select board, or maybe at town meeting, I'm not sure how it works, but we can choose to take that override money and not add it? What did I hear before?
We're doing that this year, yeah. The override was $2,894,400, but we're only
Right, the
taxing.
600, yeah.
We're only, out of that, we're only raising $2,334,000
Right, because that's
494.
because we had expenses that we didn't need
for
immediately.
this year, yeah. So that's gonna be available next year.
Okay,
That 600,000, that number that I showed, 678,000.
okay.
Will be
But then
available
when I
next year.
said, when I made the comment, or we could go for an underride, something was said after that we have a choice to do something. What was it again?
Well, we could do nothing,
You don't have to raise that.
yeah.
We could
can-
choose not to raise
You can leave it there,
that,
yeah.
the
Just leave
override
it be.
amount.
Yep,
Okay,
yep.
all right.
In
Jane?
theory, a healthy community, in theory, the more money you have in the more unused levy capacity, the healthier your budget is. Okay, when you're raising every nickel that you can because you need that money, that shows that your budget is stressed. And again, I'm not a financial analyst, but from the research I've done, that's what.
Jay, I want to thank you. You come in every year and you're patient and you explain everything so well.
I hope so.
And you walk us through the numbers and, Belchertown is lucky to have you.
Well, Gary Brome told me when you're after 25 years, I finally got it right.
Well, thank you.
We still have to vote, right?
Yeah, so the board's recommending you adopt a factor of 1.
Okay. Does someone want to make a motion?
I move that we continue to assess Belchertown residential and commercial properties by a factor of 1 for FY26 fiscal year.
Second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you
Okay,
again.
thank you.
Thank you.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
It's also, just so while they're here, we do need another Board of Assessor personnel, so if you want to join this board, any town resident, they have an open position, I just want to put that caveat in there, we need one more person.
Short one.
Does it have to be anybody, is there a description of the seat that's open? Like, does it have to be somebody in particular with a certain background?
Well, I mean, maybe they should contact Steve if they have an interest.
There's a job ad out there.
Yep,
If they want to call me up, that's fine.
that's great. All right, thank you.
If you're
And thank you.
a numbers geek like me, that helps. Thank you.
Okay, so, next up. Steve?
Dorothy Cresswell and Dusty Miller.
Okay.
Thank you.
Maybe you want to get the microphone right there. And before you start, I just want to say that we are taking this up on the agenda tonight. And so this will be a time for you to give us food for thought. This is not a discussion,
Oh, okay.
because we will be deliberating.
Yes, okay. Well, we were hoping to have chance for a little back and forth, but that's not what we'll have tonight. Is that what you're saying?
Well, it's on the agenda for what we're going to do next, and so.
Okay, well, correct me. Anyway, we are happy to move from public comment to the agenda.
Yeah.
And we do have over 400 signatures here to, would I give that to you tonight? Would that be appropriate, or should I hold on to them?
No, hold on to them.
Okay.
I mean, does anybody want to look at that? Okay.
I'm just letting you know there's a strong support and interest in the town. And as I said in my letter to you, we're hoping this can be seen as a unifying common ground resolution of simply speaking up for, along with many other towns, there are over 200 working on this, and many have accepted. Locally, Shutesbury and East Hampton have since we first came to you. But we really, ours is not identical to theirs, but this is a strong statement of affirming our desire to all of us. I actually like the third part on here, that citizens are encouraged to remain vigilant, informed, and engaged in civic life to help preserve and protect the constitutional rights and freedoms guaranteed to all Americans. That, to me, that's all of us, whether we're elected or just neighbors or just from our different life experiences. It would feel exciting for Belchertown to also formally adopt affirming the Constitution, which the language has gotten simpler and simpler. And I was hoping to hear, or if you all, when you discuss, to have a response of if there's something that's troubling in it, is there something we might talk about and see if there's a statement that we all can come to. So I don't know.
Can I just?
Yes,
I
please.
just want to add one thing.
Yeah.
I grew up in Northampton, and I moved to Belchertown about 17 years ago. And one of the things I really love about Belchertown is the diversity of people, of the ecology. We live next door to Town Beach, and we love that. We love seeing who comes every day, you know, all through the warm months. And so I really feel hopeful, and I know this isn't a town issue, but I think it's really important for me as an American to bring this as a larger issue, as many towns are discussing it. And I just think it's, you know, it's just wonderful for me living in Belchertown. And I hope that we can find some points of agreement, even if you all don't end up adopting this resolution. I'm just glad we have the chance to meet with you and talk with you. And Dorothy has been doing an amazing job of just talking to Belchertown residents and getting 400 people to sign this petition. And I think that's always exciting. I mean, you know, and it's not a slam dunk to go far to the left like it might be in Northampton. And again, I just value the diversity of Belchertown in terms of opinions, the ecology, and everything else. So glad to be here.
And I would like to give credit that I am by no means the only one who has been sharing this and finding wonderful, amazing discussions. A number of 10 different people have given me these pages and had amazing discussions. So my dream at night is to have a discussion with you all. So I don't know when the right process is or not. Maybe it's something you all just talk about it. This is new. This is very new for me to be interacting at this level of engagement. So is there anything you can give back to us about how this is this helpful to you? What do you need from us, from the, how might, my question to you all is there some way this could be improved that would make it common?
I think we have to, I
exciting
think we
ground.
need to,
You'll
talk
take that
with
on
each
your
other.
own.
yeah, yeah.
Anything else?
I have a question. I don't know if now is the appropriate time. It's not to them, it's to us.
Oh, okay, yes.
So somebody, I was talking to somebody, and they pointed out to me, I think something that John had said early on, which is that our actual role is to focus on town. So my wondering out loud is this something that should go to town meeting instead of us deciding? Like, if it's a town action,
This is deliberating. And I mean, I share.
but I'm saying it out
Yeah.
loud so they can hear, because that might affect their strategy in this conversation. So I'm just saying that out loud, and that's all I'm gonna say.
I think, thank you very much.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I'm not sorry, I want to be fair. And so this will be, we're taking this up, you're more than welcome to stay. It'll just be a few minutes, but,
I wanted to say one more thing.
okay, sure.
Which is, I really, from having come to a number of town meetings now, I really appreciate how hard you work for the rest of us. I mean that. This is not like sort of, wanting you to like us. I really know that I couldn't do it. I'm 80 years old, and I've done lots of things for my community, but I know I couldn't do what you do. So I just do want to thank you, really.
I agree completely. This is a real education coming to what we come to, so.
Well, keep coming.
So thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Do you know what a levy limit is?
Oh, my gosh. Nicole, I was so sympathetic when you're saying, wait. I was like, oh, good, she's asking questions because this is new to me. All right,
Thank you again.
So you are discussing it soon, or?
Yeah, we have Gail that's coming up, and right after Gail, then we'll be talking about it.
Can I ask a question about that?
Yeah.
Is that in addition to the agenda?
I added it. We didn't vote on it. She added it.
We talked about it.
Next. I'm not prepared for that. I've not prepared for that.
Yes, you have.
Okay,
I promise.
okay.
Yes. Hi, Gail.
Hello, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Good. Let me just echo, I know exactly how hard you all work, so thank you again for doing it, having experienced it. Thank you for having me back so quickly. I know I was just here. I want, before I forget, online with us, I want to give Emily Kirby the chance to introduce herself, and we'll be tag teaming. Emily is on our Belchertown Opioid Funds Advisory Committee representing the Quabog Hill Substance Use Alliance. That's one of our seats on the committee. But Emily, feel free to chime in. I'm going to do a little intro, and then I'm going to turn back to Emily.
Hi everyone, I'm Emily Kirby. I'm the Director of Prevention and Community Health for the town of Ware, and I oversee Quabog Hill Substance Use Alliance.
Great. Happy to have Emily here and to have her on our committee. Really, the primary purpose for us tonight, with a bit of a time sensitivity, is this application from, and I hope you had a chance to look at the fact sheet that I provided, and I'll talk a little bit about some financial data as well. But this is a statewide opportunity from that group called RIZE, where they are allowing municipalities, either individually or as a combination of them, working with nonprofits, various ways that you can apply for a grant. When you contribute some of your own opioid funds, they will match it. So this is the second time across the state that this nonprofit, RIZE, has put this program out. So we, as a committee here in Belchertown, looked at it, and and you've got a description, and I'm going to let Emily do more detail about the actual project. But what we're asking for tonight is just to get a sense of whether or not you think this would be a good idea, that you could support this. The application is due fairly soon. We won't find out about who is funded amongst all of the applicants until February, and it's not until that point that any municipality has to contribute the money. So we're not necessarily have to put the money in right up front. You wait to find out if you are awarded a grant, as well as communities making the actual commitment in writing to partner up if municipalities are going in together. A couple of things that I just wanted to point out before turning over to Emily. Nicole asked some great questions about where are we even financially. So for asking you to think about could Belchertown and Ware both kick in the $50,000 that we're looking at. Jill, our great town accountant, put together this chart of where we are, what we have spent, what's encumbered between now and the end of fiscal '26. And even with all of that, things already paid for as well as to be paid for, right now, what we would have still remaining is over $213,000. So it's out of that sort of bucket of money that if we were funded by RIZE several months down the road, then out of that bucket would come the $50,000 that we're asking as we looked at a budget to do that. So I just wanted to make note that, and there's more money coming with additional settlements to be finalized probably sometime in the next 6 months. I will also say, and as we talk about what this project would involve, working with the Recovery Center and having a staff person, we several months ago talked about something like this with our public health district, the Quabbin Health District, that is us, Ware, and Pelham. At that time, they felt like they could not necessarily, we were talking about this specific grant, but the idea of going after and using resources to have a new staff person within the Quabbin Health District who could do some of this. And at that time, they decided they really didn't have the capacity for that. So that's one of the reasons why we're looking at Belchertown and Ware together with the Recovery Center, but not embedded in the Quabbin Health District. I think, let me stop there. I did want to point out that just as an FYI, I also provided a chart of how much money is coming down the pike from now until 2039 and how much on an annual basis Belchertown will be getting. So you have an idea of how the so-called, the bank of funds around opioid settlement dollars, what will be coming each year. And again, this doesn't include some new settlements that are in the process of being finalized, like the Purdue one that we talked about earlier, which could be relatively large. So I guess I would say that the committee is in support of this. They like the idea. We would love to partner up with Ware and the Recovery Center. We think that it's fiscally responsible to think about contributing that $50,000 from us and from Ware, and then RIZE will match it dollar for dollar. This is likely to be about a 2-year project. You can roll money over. If you get the grant, you get the matching funds. You can roll it, and just to say logistically and administratively, as well as the content that I'll let Emily talk more about. It's an idea that we have recognized as a need, both here and with consulting with the Recovery Center folks. So let me stop there, see if you have any questions, and then Emily can give more detail about the proposed project and what would these dollars fund.
Well, yeah, I think that was the question I was going to ask, is what does the average work day look like for one of these coordinators?
That's a good question. From what the Recovery Center folks say, and that's why I think they're such a key partner. So we're looking at a full-time job. We're looking at this person splitting their time 50% between Belchertown and Ware. That would mean that they're also going to have an office at the Recovery Center. If you've ever been through downtown Ware, it's just a few storefronts down from Ware Town Hall. So they're going to have a base of operation there, but also within the budget, we anticipate making sure that they're totally mobile with a laptop and a phone and whatever technology they need. We would envision that they would find locations in Belchertown that they would meet with program participants. They could meet with Belchertown and Ware folks in the Recovery Center. Then a lot of their work is also out in the community with someone who is particularly looking for housing. So we're calling this person a housing and care coordinator. So money in the budget to travel around, get an idea of what's out there, helping people assess what other services and programs and assistance they might be eligible for, helping them think about meeting with property owners, looking at properties, make a budget, what can you really afford in terms of looking at housing, what other services do you need, and what is your situation? Are you coming out of the hospital? Are you coming out of treatment? Are you coming out of jail? What are your housing and other care needs that you would have? We didn't put, and Emily, correct me if I'm wrong, we didn't necessarily project, for example, the number of clients or participants that this person might work with on an annual basis. We sort of want to see how it turns out. So we don't necessarily have a good guesstimate right off the bat. And it is a bit of a pilot program with these matching dollars as well. I don't know if that helps give you a sense of where they would be and what they would do.
How do we ensure that this person is truly spending 50-50 of their time?
Sure. I think that's a great question. Here's my recommendation. I haven't brought it to the full committee. If we were to get funded, I would say we'd need people from, somebody from Belchertown, might be me as the chair, might be another committee member, someone like Emily, as well as the Recovery Center, and we would meet regularly just to talk about this project. How is it with that staff person? I would also say that all three entities need to be very much involved in crafting the job description and hiring this person, and then we work together to provide that oversight and supervision of this person. But I think it's a really good question. We are concerned about that because we're asking each town, to kick in money, and we want to be sure that both towns are getting, what they deserve.
I guess I'm concerned on this position. I think it's whatever is concerning is, would they be a town employee then? Because we're funding.
No.
So how does that supervise and legally, let's say they get in a car accident, who do they sue?
No. Let me let Emily talk about that because we specifically said not either town.
Okay.
Go ahead, Emily.
Yeah, so we will be applying on behalf of the Western Mass Consortium, and they will be an employee underneath them at the Recovery Center of Hope and Ware. So they will be an employee of the Western Mass Consortium. Not of either
Why
town.
would we not just hire somebody for our own Board of Health then? I would feel like if it's a
Well,
town resident, we should just put them in the Board of Health and create a position.
We approached them several months ago, like I said, and talked about something like this. At the time, we were talking about a social worker. Remember that we're part of a 3-town district. All 3 towns would have to agree to it, and at that time, when we talked to the Quabbin Health District, rather, at that time, the staff and the boards felt that they weren't in a position to take on that kind of role, whether it was a social worker or a care coordinator. So that is a decision that the Quabbin Health District collectively would have to make. We ourselves, as the Belchertown Board of Health, as you know, I sit on that too. We can't make that decision unilaterally.
So the select board can't make that decision? We couldn't vote as the town of Belchertown to vote for that? So we pay all this money to the Board of Health and they make their own decision on how to run the Board of Health?
What happens is Belchertown, Pelham, and Ware pay into, they're assessed each year, they pay into the Quabbin Health District, and agree, and the Quabbin Health District has been around for decades now with those 3 towns, that you are making the staffing for that health district is a collective decision. That's how we're able to get public health nursing and full-time, public health director and all of that. So I'm just going by their response was that we're just not in a position to be holding that staff position right now, which is why I think the recovery center is a good option.
I guess I would like to see them in front of this board and ask them, because we're paying them money to maintain our health, and I see it as a service that this town could provide under the Board of Health if we created a job, if that makes sense. We're going to sub it out to somebody else. Why not own the process? And
Well, interesting.
I'm just trying to.
we're
We're paying a lot of money to this, and they're going to make a decision saying, "I'm going to do X, Y, Z," without involving the select board that writes the check.
Well, and this might tie in with what you're saying, but I see how this is a great fit for Ware because there's a recovery center there. Our 50%, this person is just sort of floating in the ether, and if I'm a person that's in recovery and I'm looking for that service in Belchertown, there's no.
Well, I think, I guess I would, maybe my counter to that would be the recovery center already has staff like recovery coaches and other kinds of personnel. The recovery center is a regional recovery center. It is not exclusively for just the community of Ware. And recovery coaches are out in the field. They're meeting with people both at the recovery center as well. Obviously, if this were to be awarded as a grant, we would need to be sure we solidify, so where is this person able to be in Belchertown when they're meeting with program participants in Belchertown? Right. And then let people know where that is, when that is. The recovery center tells us that they have a significant number of people from Belchertown, Ware, and Palmer, some of the closer communities, who are attending programs at the Ware Recovery Center. So that is certainly an opportunity, more so than people coming to the Board of Health. Persons in recovery seeking services, a recovery center is a good fit for them to be going to the recovery center rather than, exclusively in some other off-site location. But that's part of the guaranteeing that the 2 towns are equally, served by these dollars.
I'm not against matching grants, but what are those numbers? I keep hearing there's numbers of Belchertown residents, but what numbers? Like, is there 20 residents? Is there 300 residents? Like, I just want to know what it's impacting for Belchertown. I just hear it's impacting residents, but how many?
You mean who go to the recovery center, or how many people who are in recovery or seek services?
Like, how many Belchertown residents is this going to help? If I look at it, like,
it's a great question.
I'm curious. Like, what's
I suppose, I don't know, Emily, if you have any data, we could certainly ask the recovery center.
You must have data on where people come from.
We have hundreds of people in this town alone who are in recovery. I have hundreds of people
that would use this service, or services like this. What was the number last year?
This position hasn't really quite existed. If you're talking, in terms of just general use of the recovery center, we could certainly try to get more information on that. Well, like I said, we're in a bit of a time crunch.
Is this grant used for anything else besides just this position? Could we say we're going to fund, we're just throwing a number out there,
sure,
right here, like $50,000 towards an ambulance, and they match us $50,000 for an ambulance?
No, that's actually expressly prohibited by the state guidelines. You can't use it for that kind of emergency services.
It could be used for anything. It doesn't have to be for this position. This matching grant I'm talking about could be used for...
No, actually, the matching grant funds have to be in line with the state guidelines on how you use opioid funds.
I guess I'd have to see those guidelines.
So it has to be the same.
Opioid funds. Oh, I'm sorry. Do you want to?
Sorry, I want to see if Emily wants to add.
What I'm hearing from my fellow colleagues here is that they're concerned we don't have a center here.
Right.
Do we have space, or is there a rentable space that can be built into the grant?
We could certainly look at that. I think a space, the Recovery Center is donating their space. We're hoping that potentially there would be a consistent location in Belchertown that would also provide it
For me,
as
that
an
would be-
in-kind, a private space where a person
Yeah,
could meet one-on-one
instead of
with
just
someone.
meeting at Starbucks,
Right, right.
like a dedicated.
That would be the ideal. And yes, you could use funds if, for example, Belchertown didn't have the capacity for an in-kind space like the Recovery Center does. They have, offices available, then that could be built into the grant.
Okay.
So that a person would have a consistent place to meet out of, as well as I think we still want them to be able to be remote and mobile, because people want to get their services those ways too.
But it also builds in some accountability.
Yep. And I guess I would say there's some connections already happening with places like the library, hosting a resource fair on a monthly basis, and other places. But we could certainly look at, whether that's some space to be donated or space that could be paid for.
We don't set the salary, or you guys set the salary, so what would you don't even have a salary, do you have a salary?
The Recovery Center, yep, go ahead, Emily.
Salary.
Yeah, it's based on the Recovery Center.
Yeah, so we looked into the average rate for a housing coordinator in Massachusetts, which was around $65,000 a year. We bumped it up to 70 to make it more
Attractive.
yeah, to people.
Okay, thank you. Nicole, you had a question?
Yeah, so mine is probably a little more general about the opioid settlement funds themselves, not this particular grant, which I'm hearing from you has very strict guidelines. So in terms of, the 213,000 that we have currently and all of these additional funds expected to come in from Purdue and other, I'd be curious to learn more about how strict those guidelines are for using the money for certain things.
Sure.
Example. So on Halloween night, I don't know if you saw this article in the Gazette, the town of Amherst had 40 EMS calls in 2 hours for drug and alcohol related incidents. Belchertown was one of the towns that got called to Amherst for mutual aid. To me, I see that as an opportunity for us to be able to purchase a piece of capital that not only will our entire community make use of it, but that we could tie back to certain situations that are drug and alcohol related. What do you think about that?
That is actually, as I just said, expressly prohibited by the opioid settlement
So the prohibitions
guidelines.
are the same within that as they are in this grant?
Right.
Okay.
And I'm sorry if I wasn't clear that, and it's a good reminder that I will send maybe to Steve. It's a fairly long document because it comes from the state attorney general, but it lays out exactly what you can and cannot spend opioid money on.
So on November 19th, the MMA is hosting a opioid settlement fund municipal usage webinar. So you can attend
great!
that and
There
learn
you
all
go.
about
Thank you.
opioid
Excellent. But
settlement
I'll send
funds and how to use
I'll
them.
send the document, and I hear what you're saying, and that it seems like some kinds of expenses make a logical connection to where these dollars came from, but in terms of the legal settlements and how they're decided by people with much better legal expertise than me, there are some very clear-cut ways that you can and cannot spend.
So you're doing matching grants, and you're saying the salary position costs $70,000. That's roughly $140,000 for 2 years. Where's the other $60,000 going?
Well, we're looking at, that in terms of the other expenses, we're looking at things like travel, professional development, resources that may help some of the participants, get into a housing situation. Say, for example, they might need a little bit of help with, first month's rent, supplementing some of that. Looking at, you have to pay tax and fringe and overhead. So some of those costs, we wanted to leave some room in the budget to also hear from the program participants, what kinds of needs do you have?
I guess it's like an open check book. I'm just leaving $60,000, not knowing where it's going. I just my budget in my head. Sorry,
though, because I mean they do have strict guidelines.
You have strict guidelines,
so it's
right.
not like we can just use this money for anything
Right.
willy-nilly,
Right.
and that's why they have a committee that is
Right.
recommending
Right.
certain that's
Right.
why we have
And
this.
I guess I would say too that the consortium has its own, understands what these dollars are about. The consortium, which is the overarching agency that manages the recovery center here and in other communities. So they're working, they know what the limitations are as well. And like I said, we're happy to do whatever if this were to get funded, and I'll be honest and say, they're not giving out a huge number of these grants around the state, and there's a lot of competition for them. So, it's all hypothetical until it gets funded. But we could certainly build in, regular reports.
I have two questions. The
Sure.
first one is, you talked at the beginning about gathering from the community, from the recovery community.
Yep.
What is the greatest need? And this came back as the greatest need.
Housing and care coordination.
Okay,
Yep.
and so because you'll have to write this in the executive summary anyway. Tell more, why is this the number one thing, and what will this fill that's not already being filled?
Okay, sure. Emily, are you okay if I tee that up, or you want to begin, and me? I don't want to dominate the conversation since we have you here too.
If you want to go, you can. It's actually thundering at my house right now, so if you see me going on mute, it's very loud in my attic right now. So if you want to go, Gail.
Okay, sounds good. So what we heard and what we continue to hear, so the housing crisis is a larger than just people with substance use disorder, right? People who are particularly of limited economic means have huge challenges finding affordable and safe housing here in Western Mass, not just here, all over the state and wherever. What would be different is that what we hear is that at the recovery center you have recovery coaches, you can often get connected to a medical provider, you can get connected to therapists, that there's a need for someone who's got some expertise and understanding of the breadth of what's available in terms of programs you can apply for and be eligible for to support getting into housing, particularly as you're transitioning, like I said, from the hospital, from treatment, from jail, coming into this area because you're leaving the city and you're coming into Western Mass. So there are lots of programs out there, but helping people navigate through the whole system, helping people go and actually see apartments. How do I talk to the property owner? What do I need? What kinds of documents do I even need in order to become eligible to potentially rent this apartment? Are there some other subsidized housing I'm eligible for? How do I deal with some of my past history with respect to signing a lease and getting what legal advice do I need? So having someone who can help you navigate through this complicated housing system is part of what we're hearing while you're trying to maintain your recovery, as well as be sure you've got everything else in place to be able to be stably housed for as long as possible. Even to the point where I think a housing and a care coordinator would help with making sure, do you have the appropriate income? Are you making sure you're eligible, to be, once you're housed, how are you going to maintain yourself in that apartment or other situation that you're in, whatever kind of living situation seems best for you?
Thank you.
Does that help?
I think a lot.
Yeah.
For me, the big thing was that they need to have a place so that people in Belchertown go to a place in Belchertown.
Right.
So that transportation is, we take away all the issues.
Right, to make it, right, as accessible. And again, you know, it's a relatively newer idea. The woman who is the director of the Recovery Center came to our area from the Boston area. Her previous employment, they had a housing coordinator at their agency. So we're looking to her for her expertise as well, as that person will be employed by the Recovery Center. What is it that people need in order for that process to go as well as it can, knowing that there's real limitations on what's out there in terms of housing?
Okay, so, I'm sorry.
Sorry, what is the plan? Is there a plan to keep this position in future? So every time we get a grant,
Yep.
I always ask this question. We did the same
Good
thing
question.
with the firefighters.
Yep.
And everyone's like, we'll find the money in the budget. I'm not that approach. I say, what's the plan to get the money so we're not going to keep using tax dollars? I guess.
Well, I think it's,
Like,
yeah,
what's the
it's,
plan for
no,
that?
it's a great question. And, you know, the matching funds, and we talked about this in our committee as well, that if this partnership is creating this position, the last thing you want to do is ramp up with a new position, get it all going, and then have to say it doesn't exist anymore. So I think as soon as if we were to be notified in February that we're getting funded for this, we have to put a plan together to sustain this. So how much of that might be opioid funds, how much of, you know, from both the towns. One thought that we have is ultimately, does another town want to come in? There's been some conversation that the town of Palmer might be interested. They're going for their own RIZE grant in this application round. If they're not funded, they have a committee similar, you know, they have a committee like ours that that town might want to join. So you're absolutely right. We have to, I think, right from the beginning, we know we'll probably have a good 2 years worth of funding between the town contributions and the matching funds. But we have to figure out how we're going to sustain this. So that's where we look at what's coming in from whatever towns agree to do it, and are additional towns willing and interested to come on. My feeling is this particular position and project should be sustainable with opioid funds without having to dip into other kinds of municipal funds. This is the kind of work that is supportable with opioid dollars. Now, you know, we know these dollars go all the way out to 2039, but we need to have a plan for the near term as well as for the longer term.
Yeah, because there's a lot of years on here that don't even cover
Right.
50,000.
Yep.
And then we definitely have things on the current roster that we want to fund every year, like Chris Hogue, for instance. Right?
Potentially,
things
you're right.
that we wouldn't be willing
Yep.
to give up. 'Cause
Exactly.
Having her in the
Yep.
schools is so important.
Yep.
I want to make sure that if we do this, and there comes a time when, sorry,
Mm-hmm.
money's gone, I'm not comfortable right now with the state of our finances saying, okay, let's look to the taxpayers for this. So I just want us to be okay with saying at some point, we might not have this around forever, but let's take advantage of it while we can right now.
Mm-hmm.
I agree.
Would you be okay with that?
Yeah, I definitely hear that. Like I
You
said,
know me, I won't go to the taxpayers
No,
for it.
and like I said, I feel like this is, and again, depending on what it might look like with additional settlements, and also what kinds of needs are we going to have. I agree with you. Some of the things that we've already committed to for this year, we might have to pay again for next year, depending on what the federal funding looks like. So we need that plan, but in my mind, this kind of position is actually better suited to opioid dollars than it is to general fund taxpayer dollars coming out of a town. I think all three entities have agreed that we will look for other additional funds. We will look for other grants. It's possible that RIZE will continue to support these kinds of projects. But yeah, once we if we were to be funded from the very start, we'd have to be thinking about how to sustain this. And what might the recovery center be able to also contribute? If that's an employee of their agency, what do their budgets look like to keep that incorporated as an ongoing position?
Okay, I'm just going to say it's 9:30.
I know.
Oh, my God.
8:30.
Oh, 8:30.
It's 8:30.
You get to fix
Oh
that
my
clock.
gosh, you really scared me there.
You know what, I'm looking over to
I'm
saying
sorry.
9:30, how did that happen?
Do you
All
like me to
right.
make a
I
motion?
appreciate your questions, and I know you've got a lot on your
We have a
agenda,
lot
but
more to
I
cover.
know we're also asking you to
I'll make a motion.
I got
Burning
two more
questions.
things.
think about money.
I guess my other concern is if this position doesn't work out and you come back to us, where does the funding just goes to stays at the recovery center, or does it come back to your opioid settlement funds? So let's say this position only lasts and it's not justifiable, it only ends up being 20 hours a week, and now they have a $200,000 budget. Where does all that money go?
Well,
Does it come back to at least our opioid account, or does it have to stay?
I guess my recommendation would be at that point, say, once we get, and we fully acknowledge this is more like a pilot program. If for, in the first 6 months not working, it doesn't need a full-time position, then again, all three entities have to sit down, redesign a budget. We would come back to Belchertown. Emily has to go back to the Ware Select Board. And if the amount contributed is not needed, then I think those dollars, if the budget turns out to be much less after some time living with that position, then you have to think about those contributions going back to the respective towns.
So they would.
I would think so. Emily, I don't know if you have thoughts,
Yeah, no,
if you
that's
have
right.
that, but if for some reason we proposed a full-time position and somehow it turns out that much less is needed to meet the needs, then I think all three entities we have to come together, redesign the budget, and then go back to each town.
That should be memorialized, though. That should be in writing.
Yes, that was the other thing, that if this is funded, and thankfully RIZE is willing to wait, if the grant is funded, then that's when both towns officially sign on the dotted line and come up with an MOU together and make that contribution. So again, no money has to be contributed now. Those details are worked out if you're funded. If we're not funded, this isn't necessarily going to happen right away. The matching funds are making it more feasible for this kind of project to happen.
And my other comment, I just want to say, I still think this should go into the Quabbin Health thing, and they should come before this board to ask us why they're refusing job offers. We're writing them a check, but that's just.
Well, I have other issues with
it's
them.
what-
I'd
no,
love
I'm
to have them
sorry.
come before
I
the
support
board.
this, so I will make a motion that we let them apply for the grant, $50,000 of opium funds.
Second.
I have a question. Do you want to make a separate motion about having the health, the Board of Health come in?
That's next, we can do that.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right,
I'll do that
all right.
one.
I'm sorry, make
Sorry.
it again.
I make a motion that we let the opium funds apply for a grant of $50,000 to help support with the town of Ware, the Ware Recovery Center of Hope. Is that the right?
Recovery Center of Hope is their official name. Yep, that's the nonprofit and two towns
There's
together.
second.
Is that right?
Further discussion?
Do we have to add for the RIZE grant?
Do we have to what?
Add for the RIZE grant?
Oh, yes, for the RIZE.
For the
grant.
RIZE grant. So,
Do we need to say it all over again?
You have to,
So your motion was to allow the opioid committee to apply for a $50,000 RISE grant,
RIZE grant, yep.
Okay,
and it was seconded first by Jen and then by Nicole, so who's taking?
Jen can take it.
okay, all right. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. You
Thank you
handled our
very much.
questions beautifully.
I appreciate it.
No worries.
Great
I appreciate your
conversation.
questions.
Thank you.
Thank you, Emily.
Thank you.
Okay. So we're going to just briefly talk about the role of a municipal select board regarding federal matters. This is a board that has worked well with each other. over the past year. And we come from many different political backgrounds. And we've heard from Dorothy and Dusty, I think this was the third time now. And rather than have a discussion about it together, I'm proposing that we, each of us, come up with a public policy regarding the role of municipal select board in Belchertown as it pertains to federal matters, and that we come back in 2 weeks and share our thoughts with each other. There is no policy now. The idea is that, keeping in mind that we all come from different political backgrounds, what's our policy on matters regarding the federal?
Our power went out, folks.
Yeah, the power went out.
We had a reboot.
We were in the dark, but now there's light, and so we're back. Okay, so that was my suggestion. I don't know how the rest of the group feels about it.
I'm just going to reiterate again what I said earlier, which is I was blissfully unaware that there might already be some mandate surrounding the role of a select board within a municipality, and I don't understand how other towns are dealing with that in our role. So, and this is just like a recent thing that I discovered when I was talking to somebody about this topic.
I don't understand what you mean. Are
So
you
like
saying
if you
it's not-
look up like the role of a select board, it says that our role as an executive board is limited to town matters, and that if we have personal viewpoints, we can say those as our own personal viewpoints, separate from like the board itself. And I don't know how that applies to having a conversation about the federal level.
You and I might have had this conversation. I think there's some thought that the select board and town manager are the executive branch of the government. Town meeting is legislative branch.
Right.
Some communities have a town council or a city council, which is their legislative branch.
Right.
Like Amherst, for example.
Right.
I believe Palmer has, so. When people say Amherst accepted this, it may be their legislative branch, even though it wasn't at a town meeting.
Right, so like for us, it might be that it needs to be a thing put on the town meeting warrant. I'm not sure, this is new information for me to chew on, so I don't know the answer.
Well, I actually really like that idea, because then it's not us deciding for the town, it's the town deciding for the town. And, my personal opinion about this is that I have my personal beliefs, and as an individual, I'm certainly going to let people know what they are. But as a board, our number one responsibility is to do the business of the town. And what I really felt about this is an opportunity for us to develop a policy that says these are the things we will talk about, these are the things we won't talk about. So either one of those or both, I think would be good. My concern is that there are extremes on both sides and somewhere in the middle. And by staying mum on it, that we're open to that. And I'm protective of the board and our ability to do the work that we have to do for the town. So that's where I'm coming from.
I agree. except for I have one concern on that, because we've talked about a few things over the past couple of months. For instance, not just this Constitution topic, but when Cliff McCarthy came in.
Yes.
Same thing.
How granular are we going to get with stuff that we send to town meeting? And with, like in Cliff's instance, there's some time sensitivity on that as well. So if we let one thing go to town meeting, but yet we turn other small things away, are we sending a message that certain things are not more important than others? And that is why I feel most comfortable for us to make the policy. And my recommendation would be that we nix it all in here, nothing.
We all what?
Nix it all in here, nix.
Oh,
Don't,
nix.
that we don't hear
Yeah, the
any,
policy is that we.
that we don't entertain
that's-
anything.
That's, and so mine is close to yours, unless it directly affects Belchertown.
Oh, yes,
So,
absolutely.
You know, I don't think any of us are actually all that off in terms of where we want to be with this. And, you know, we all did our fair share of virtue signaling, you know, yes, you know, I'm for this, I'm for that. That's all well and good. But the bottom line is that in order for us to work effectively, we have to look beyond our differences and instead focus on town matters. And if there's and this is where I was really looking for the wisdom of the board, is because it could touch, if it would actually touch Belchertown, then I do think we should talk about it. But it's, what I don't want is the well it coulds, you know? So it's about developing language around this. And this is a very smart board. And I think if we have that sort of as our parameter, I think we could come up with some, you know, pretty good policy ideas and bring it back to the board for review and hopeful adoption. If it looks like it's going to be a longer conversation, you know, then maybe we send ourselves out again for another 2 weeks. But I think what doesn't work is what we've been trying to do, which is, you know, publicly have a conversation about this. I think that what Dorothy and Dusty did was an opportunity for us to really look at what is our role, and you know, what things should we be talking about, what things really isn't for this board to discuss. And I think any organization, any committee should look at that. Who are we? What's our role? So are we okay with giving it some thought and then coming back and, you know, sharing our thoughts?
I mean, so you're saying that the five of us should each come back with maybe our own policy, and then we merge it all together?
Yeah.
That's a lot.
I don't want to do that.
Yeah, I think that's going to create.
Okay, well,
I don't know.
tell me a better
Should we-
way. Here's what I want to avoid. Us, you know, getting into it, you know, and instead just looking at, you know, what is, you know, what is the right policy? And wording is everything. This is a super sensitive subject. And I truly was just trying to be fair, like, instead of like, here's mine, what do you think, you know? But I'll do whatever way we can get to where we want to go. But for tonight, I really wanted to keep this short. Like, what's your ideas? What do you want to do for next steps? You know, Dorothy and Dusty gave us a great document to look at. But I think the greater issue is what really should our role be? So what do you think? What's the next
Do you
step?
want a subcommittee? I mean, I don't have a strong desire to work on this. I'm saying that out loud.
Well, I don't know, do you want to do something? Or John, I'm happy to work on it. I don't think it would take that long. I could be wrong.
Well, I think if you subcommittee it, it should be one from each of the
I know,
schools of thought,
that's right.
and one who is a wordsmith, at least one wordsmith.
Yeah.
I would be open to doing it even though
Or
it's
John.
the busiest time of year.
I'm not a wordsmith, but
Whitney's a wordsmith.
Whitney is a wordsmith.
You're a wordsmith.
I'm a wordsmith.
I'm a talk out loud person.
Well, I don't want to assign Whitney
I know, yeah.
anything.
I nominate. I don't know. Do you want to do it?
Do you want to work on it together?
Yeah,
Okay.
There you go.
all right.
Problem solved.
Probably-
Two wordsmiths
Okay.
are going to work on this together.
All right, I think that's a good solution, and then we'll put it on the agenda for next time, share it with everybody, make any changes that people feel like should be in, and then move forward.
Great.
Okay?
Awesome.
And continue to respect each other like we have been doing for all of this time.
I agree. I think we all want that.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay, that was great. Request for holiday closing.
So yeah, in the notes on page 5, there's additional information about that. I don't know if you caught that or not.
The error on the days.
Is there?
There's, oh, I thought you said if we caught it, there's an error on the days.
What's the error?
It's Friday.
Saturday.
Just,
January 2nd is a Saturday, is a Friday.
yeah, it's Friday, December 26th and Friday, January 2nd.
That's Friday.
Huh?
Yep.
This is Friday.
But I,
The 26th of November, yeah.
So the 20th, November 26th is Friday, and what's the other Friday?
they're both Fridays.
They're both
Oh.
Fridays.
Okay.
January 2nd.
I wonder if that was last year's.
It was last year, yeah. But I more had a question.
I have another. Go ahead.
So Wednesday's the 26th.
Yes, that's definitely a Wednesday.
No, it's a Friday.
No, Wednesday before Thanksgiving.
Oh, the first one,
Yes.
yes, that one's correct. Yep.
Yes.
So that's a close.
Because that's always a Wednesday.
Yeah.
We're off Thursday and Friday. Day after Thanksgiving's a holiday already.
Yep.
Okay, and then in December, we have, yeah, the 25th is Thursday.
Yeah, they're both Fridays.
So yes, it could be
So they have
Friday the 26th.
4-day weekend.
Yes.
The schools are dealing with it too. My kid's school is closed for like 2 weeks because of the way the holidays came out
Oh,
this
yeah.
year.
Okay.
So that must have been last year's day. I apologize
So,
for that.
my question is more around, and I suppose I should kind of know this with I have somewhat of an HR background, what, have we looked into this idea of our offices are closing but forcing employees to use their time?
The offices are close to the public. Employees can still work.
Okay,
Oh.
understood.
They don't have to.
But if they don't want to work, then they can, okay, all right.
So if
Was
somebody
my-
shows up to the town
Okay.
hall, the building's gonna be closed.
Okay.
And chances are, most of the offices will be unstaffed.
Okay, because I was gonna say, it
But
didn't seem
somebody may
fair,
decide to work.
yeah, I was gonna say, it didn't seem fair to the employees if you were forcing them to leave and take time, but if it's that, then that's fine, I don't have a question then, okay.
So basically what we're asking is that we, it's closing the offices for non-essential employees, so we should add that word in so it makes more sense next year.
Yeah.
So it's like liberal leave for employees. They can just take leave if they want to, and they don't have to worry about providing services.
Yeah.
Does this impact, I guess, like the dump, that's not considered essential, is it, or is that?
No, the dump, they would be open. The DPW would have a skeleton crew. The wastewater treatment plant has to operate, the police department, the fire department.
Do we list anywhere what is open?
That's it, yeah, I'm just curious
Okay.
about that.
Anything else on this?
Do we need a motion, or?
Yes, we do.
I move that we approve the upcoming dates of closure for town offices to the public. Wednesday, November 26th, 2025, close at noon, the day before Thanksgiving. Friday, December 26th, 2025, full day, day after Christmas. And Friday, January 2nd, 2026, full day, day after New Year's.
I second it.
Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Okay, next we have a request to place a sign on town property. This is the Lions Club. They are applying very early, which is nice. It means people are starting to understand the process. So Richard brings on behalf of the Lions for a grinder sale, sub sale. Meatball Sub Sale.
What's for next year?
Excuse me.
Maybe attach the sign too. Look
It's
at
for
that.
like one Saturday every month in summer, May through August. So they want to put an additional sign on this during their sale?
During the sale.
Great, awesome.
Yep.
I make a motion that we approve this request for the Meatball Sub Sale from May 2026 to August 31st, 2026. One Saturday every month in the summer.
For the Lions Club.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
All right, a further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
And next up, we have the right of first refusal for the Spellman property in North Liberty Street, map 276, lot 1501. Both the Conservation Commission and the Planning Board have recommended that we do not exercise our right of first refusal, so I would just ask the board to confirm that.
I make a motion that we do
yes,
not
wait.
exercise our right of first refusal for the Spellman property on North Liberty, map 276, lot 15-01.
Do I hear a second? Second? Further
I have a
discussion?
question. I just want to make sure. So I'm looking at page 40 of the packet, the letter from Attorney Maynard, and it says that the town has a lien. Is the lien actually what 61A is, or is there actually a lien on this property for, I don't know, non-payment of taxes or something?
No, I believe that's the back taxes that's due from the 61A.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when we exercise our right of refusal and the property sells, we get our back taxes, correct?
Yeah, there's a certain percentage that they have to pay back.
Oh, they don't owe 100%?
It's like 5 to 10 years back, somewhere around that time frame.
Yeah, I don't remember
What?
It's
exactly.
like 5 to 10 years back, somewhere around that time frame.
Is it a percentage of, or it only goes back 5
It
to
only
10
goes
years?
back so far, some years. So
Yeah.
it could be in there for 100 years. It's not going to go back 100 years. That's why it's like one of those things you put it in chapter 61A. If you're not going to sell it right away, it's like it's
Yeah.
a mathematical
I
equation.
think it's 5 years, so it's not
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
That's why it's
Is it
somewhere
really
around
only
that.
5 years?
I thought it was 3, but
It's something back like that. It doesn't go back very far. So there's
Okay.
that's what the reference is to. Yes, that they do have to pay something to the town when they take it out.
Any other further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
There should be a form and you should be signed.
So
by.
everybody, who wants to, oh, Dan is a notary, right?
I can go to the town hall. and
Dan,
sign
can
it
we
tomorrow.
use your notary services tonight?
Nobody said anything.
Doesn't
Okay.
matter.
I can go
Do you want to
tomorrow
go to
and sign
town hall? Okay, so everybody but John sign this
It's
tonight.
anyways.
Okay. All right, while that's happening, can we do the creation of bylaw review committee?
Yeah, so a few meetings back, we had a discussion about creating a committee to review the town code, to go over bylaws to make sure that they're still relevant, that they are necessary, flush out anything that should be updated or changed or eliminated. I believe the board agreed that that would be a good exercise to have, and wanted to see what a charge would look like. So the charge is in your packet. You know, it's certainly up for discussion. It's not something that we set in stone if we want changes to it. That is on page 55. We kept it simple. There is a difference between bylaw review committee and, if you remember in the goals and objectives, we have an objective to form a government study committee. So,
Yeah.
you know, a government study committee would look at the form of the town government. It would look at town manager roles, it would look at select board roles, it would look at town meeting, whether we would want to see town meeting evolve to a representative town meeting, or have a town council versus town meeting. You know, these are all things that a government study committee would look at. They would probably also look at bylaws as well, but it doesn't have to be part of their charge. It could be a separate task. So, you know, what are your thoughts on the committee?
Oh, boy.
So the committee, would there be, like, the first goal would be to straighten our bylaws to match our current legislation with the town manager, right? Would that be their first, like, charge, just to bring them up to date?
We had council do that.
Okay. But like the finance committee one, for example, we had to go back, would that be something they would look at first, to, like, make sure everything was corrected?
They could, yeah.
So it matches the legislation?
Yeah.
Right?
When the legislation was finally enacted, even before that, we had council review the code to look for select board versus selectmen. We went to town meeting and we made a whole bunch of changes. And then when the town manager legislation was finally enacted, town council looked at things again and came up with a list of bylaws that needed to be changed and made sure the language was in there. So I think we have identified every place in the bylaws where both of those things needed to be changed. With this, we're going to be looking more at what's relevant. You know, are bylaws actually necessary, or are they outdated? Are they effective? You know, there's been a lot of concern about noise, so maybe they want to look at the noise bylaws.
Well, wouldn't it be line by line?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It could be a very lengthy process.
Yes.
Who knows how far they're going to get, you know, every year. This committee may be around for several years trying to get through it.
Well, what I was wondering, oh, go ahead. Anybody?
Right.
What I was wondering is, would it make sense to prioritize by topic area, so that, you know, the things that need the most attention right away are the things that you take on first, and so because it is going to take so long, and so it's just a thought, but you know. And I'm not sure who would identify what the priorities are.
That's a very good question. That would probably be a good topic for the select board to take up. So we do have, if we form this committee, we need to, and we have another committee, the tax title committee, not tax title.
Tax assistance.
The tax assistance committee met last week. If we form this committee, we're going to have another committee. Both of these committees don't have a liaison to the select board. So we need to address that.
Okay.
And then, you know, I think it would be, you know, generally the first meeting is to set up a chair, vice chair, clerk, a meeting schedule, a place for the meeting, introductions, talk about the charge, and then, you know, I think that would be the appropriate time to say, you know, the select board want you to come in and talk about the priorities, you know. and identify those things. So I don't know how we would write that into the chart, and I don't think it needs to be in the chart.
I'm not sure it does either. It's more, because this is going to take several years,
Right.
what are the top priorities that really need to be looked at right away?
Yeah, yeah.
And I think you would probably know some of those.
Yeah, sure.
I don't know that the select board would know that. But, I think, I'm not sure if it would need to be in, you're right.
So I think we can kind of let that go for now, and we can kind of figure it out once we get the committee forms.
Okay.
Because, we don't want them to start on page 1. So let's figure out where it's going to have a bigger impact.
What do you think?
I'm curious how this reconciles with doing a government study committee. Is this like, would we would still have bylaws, I'm assuming, even if we changed our form of government? And plus, we keep wanting to titrate the amount of committees. We want to add a whole bunch of more committees.
Condense the committees.
I would
I like that
think,
idea.
No,
that-
I'm serious. That's one
Yeah.
thing I was going to bring up later.
I would think that some of the professional background of folks on this bylaw committee could possibly be the same kind of folks that would be on a government study
Yeah.
committee. I'm wondering if this could be a dual function committee where bylaws get addressed first.
Or in conjunction. I mean, this is big.
I just don't want to see 7 years go by and not address the town
And-
government.
and-
That's my
exactly.
fear.
Okay,
That would
yeah.
be my fear.
I mean, we just keep kicking it down the
Down the road.
road, and so we'll never start
I
that process.
mean, I think the bylaws are so big. I'm just throwing it out there that having a separate group that does that could tackle the language. That it could dovetail with the government study. But I see it as because the government study is going to be so big, it'll be
And if we never
years
start, we'll
before we
never-
have this.
but if-
And the other piece that that I'm going to throw in is actually the next item, and that is even the bylaw committee, because we just had a town meeting and Article 5, there was so much back and forth. Like, I feel like that's something we need to address now. And, put it on for town meeting in the spring. So, because I don't want to hold things up. To me, that's a problem.
Would the DLS offer a service, like looking at doing a government study? Would they offer that service?
Yeah, I think they would.
They assist, I don't remember if it's a DLS or another state agency, but when you form a government study committee, you do it with the assistance of the state.
With what?
With the assistance of the state.
Okay.
So we would have to have a committee.
Yes. So if you want to table this, and we can try to get more clarification on how tightly the two processes are woven. It's something, if the board desires, I can move up on the goals and objectives priority list. I haven't gotten there yet, but I certainly can, I can pull that out now and start making some phone calls. So that's
It's
easy.
not for me. It's
No.
not the big priority for
No,
me, no.
me either. John, where are you?
I think it's a priority, but I'm just looking at it. We should start the process now. If we wait 7 years from
We're
now,
never
we're
gonna
never
get
going to
to
get it
it.
started. I feel like the bylaws in the town government, if we start editing the bylaws and then town government study comes, and the bylaws have to be changed anyways. So we should start the committee and get the process going.
What committee?
The government study committee.
You don't think we should have a separate one for bylaws?
I think the government study committee could come and create that bylaw committee, because they might be changing the bylaws to change the government study committee.
I mean, yeah, so
Does that
much
make
could be
sense?
affected by it.
We
is
could
my
be,
concern.
they could come, the bylaws could change all this stuff, then we're going back to town meeting,
Oh,
after the
okay,
government study committee to
okay.
change the bylaws again.
I just feel like it's a bunch of Band-Aids we're throwing on a
I think
big
the government study
project
committee
without
should tackle
addressing it.
this as
So-
it goes
So you
through.
think we should do government study first?
I think we should get that ball going right now.
And do nothing with
It's a 7-year
bylaws?
process almost to change town
And
government.
do nothing with bylaws?
I think it comes with the government study committee. It's like
I
a
think
sub,
that's gonna be so,
A subcommittee.
huge
or they would come to us and
long
say,
ti-
start another committee.
timeline.
to start this process.
I think we need to get more information
Okay, so let's table it for 2 weeks.
for now. Yep. Is that okay with everyone, so we can sort of get our thoughts around this? Okay. So, I kind of already talked about this, but at the special town meeting, discussion about Article 5, I know that, I promised that I would bring it back to this board. This is our first meeting afterwards, so where do people stand on this?
I'm gonna refer back to my earlier statement in our last conversation. We just went through this whole thing and the legislation and the whole McGillicuddy. It's gonna take a couple of years. So I just feel like we're just trying to Band-Aid a whole bunch of stuff. I feel like if we're gonna do it, we should just do it right. That's my opinion.
I don't understand. Can you clarify?
I think if
What's
we do
the
the
Band-Aid?
government's, so the discussion that we had about Article 5 was about cleaning up the language, right?
Well, no,
Between the
it's more
special
than that.
legislation and the
No.
bylaw.
No, I think we were fine on some of the,
Well, the way
Little
town meeting
changes.
voted the language is what we agree with that.
yeah.
It's about, should there only be one be-all and end-all, right?
Yeah.
For appointing, should there be another path for somebody if they wanted to appeal?
And that would be the government study committee. They would come and say, hey, we put the legislation like, hey, the town manager appoints this. We recommend that the select board does.
I don't want to wait 5 years for people who might want to
I
volunteer right now.
think it's a policy we could put in
Yeah, I think
place
we could.
immediately as the
Yeah.
select board, right?
Well, I think we
Now
have
it's in
to
the
vote on it.
bylaws and it
It's in
has
the
to go to town meeting.
Yeah, it would have to go
like
to
it's-
town meeting.
So it's just like, we're just.
So let me tell you what this is. This, right now, as it stands, Steve is the only person who decides who gets to serve on committees.
Yeah, but that's in the legislative.
That's
station.
right.
And
So
that's
we
not-
can't change that.
That's not entirely true.
The chairs have input, or the committees have input, according to the legislation.
Okay, Steve, you say it.
Okay, so,
And this is from the language right here,
so
right?
let me find it so I can
I
put it
have it.
properly. I think any decision that the town manager makes is appealable to the select board. I answered to the select board ultimately, so if somebody was disgruntled, they have that opportunity. But what this says in here is that the town manager is is responsible for appointing and removing members of multiple member bodies, department heads, officers, subordinates, and employees in accordance with policies and procedures established by the select board or in applicable collective bargaining agreements. Except that the town manager shall not appoint employees of the school committee, the police chief, the fire chief, and the library director. Those are the exemptions. It also goes on to say, provided, however, that the town manager shall, prior to appointing a department head subject to the policy direction of a multiple member body, consult with the multiple member body, provided further that the removal of the department head should not take effect until the appointment is ratified. So what we have done in the past is anytime there's a multiple member body, any letters of interest go directly to that group. The group discusses it, and I wait until there's a recommendation coming back. The only exception to that rule is a new committee, because we don't have anybody to consult with, and then I would use my discretion. So I wait until there's a recommendation coming back. So there is a level there. So
Well, it's a level, but do they have the same authority as you do?
no, they don't.
That's right. So all I'm looking for is a check and a balance. So, and it doesn't have to be the select board, but there has been, and I wasn't here for this, but there have been times in this town's history where there's only been one person who has made the decisions of who's going to be on committees. And I'm only talking about volunteers. Any hiring decisions, that's totally different. But people who want to volunteer in this town, and this is personality side, it's nothing to do with Steve. If we had someone who came in and decided they didn't like John, and so John's not going to get on any committee, that I think is unfair. And so what I'm looking for is a check and a balance to make sure that we are being fair to anyone who wants to give of their time and talent to the community. That's it.
I hear you. I don't see a path forward that's different than, I don't know. I don't have a solution. That makes sense, because in my own personal history on this board, I've seen it operate and backfire in multiple different ways.
Yeah, and I'm just trying
But
to.
I don't know like what the solution is.
Well, I don't know what it is either. That's why I want to talk about it. We don't have to come up with a decision tonight, but it just doesn't sit right with me. You know, and especially that I guess this town has had a history of it. So it's like I want to avoid that in the future, so that anybody who wants to volunteer, you know, is not turned away. And I'm not just this has nothing to do with Steve, because seriously, I'm thinking in the future, regardless of who's in that seat, you know, and that's what I'll be looking for in the bylaws, that there's always a check and a balance. So it's not just this, but especially for people who just want to give their time and talent, you know, there should not be a
I don't think you can write a bylaw for that, because we already have a legislation saying. So that's what it's in. The government study committee would
Right.
have to start
So-
this whole legislation process over.
In talking to the attorney about this, he says this happens all the time. It happens all the time. This is not unique, and it is taken up, you know. So we could bring it to town meeting. We could ask for that change. It's I don't know if he used the word common, but pretty close to it. You know, were you there when he was saying this? Because I was like, how common is this?
What I think I heard him say was, if it got voted down, the legislation would supersede it. It would have to get approved at town meeting and go back to the legislation, which is a 2 to 3 year process.
That's what he
Yeah.
said.
That's what he said.
The
So for
bylaw-
me, it's like I'd rather just do the government study and just be done with it.
We can't supersede legislation with a town bylaw, and that's, even the vote at town meeting was moved. And I just want to be very clear, I'm not fighting for my own authority, because I understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
We had one person appointing people to the finance committee, who's the town moderator. Now we have one
I
person.
was going to mention anything.
Well, I mean,
You know.
that was the history behind it.
That was the history of it.
Yeah.
Now we have one person as a town manager.
Yeah.
And
So this is all just to
it
avoid
is
that.
subject to abuse. You know, I would never do that, but
Yeah.
I'm not gonna be here for the next 50 years.
Yeah.
So I agree with what you're saying. The process is difficult though, because you have to go back and revise the legislation. So right now, the best we can do is say we need that recommendation from the chair of a committee or board. And I think as the select board, you can say that that's the policy, that you want to make sure that we have that recommendation, which is consistent with the legislation. So I don't have an issue with that. I really don't.
Yeah.
So we have at least, even though there's not a lot of teeth in it, at least we have some checks and balances to fall back on to say, we did our due diligence.
Because then the committee is saying this is the person that we recommend
Right.
gets appointed to join our committee, right?
And I can tell you the last 2 appointments of the finance committee in particular, they were vetted and the recommendation did come back to make the appointments. So, you know, it is happening. But I do agree that whether it's now or through the government study committee, we need to be addressing this. Knowing that it's a couple-year process.
No, I'm hearing 7 or 8 years, you know, and that's a long time. You know, it's the wisdom of the board. I've raised the issue, and I certainly stand by it. But if the rest of the board feels that we should
I don't, I'm in agreement with you, but
Yeah.
what I'm also hearing is that there's nothing we can do about it.
Well, okay, and again, maybe we need the attorney, but
Well, I think we could do something about it. It just will take
5 or 6
time.
years.
It will still take time. It's not like as simple as us deciding.
No.
It's not as simple as us going to town meeting. It's like a step beyond that is out of our control, that it could take up to 2 to 3 years.
Because of changing the legislation.
Because changing the legislation takes that long. So it's like,
Yeah.
you know, are we gonna go through all of that effort knowing that we also wanna do this other government study?
Which is gonna have to go for legislation
Which
anyway.
is also gonna have to go to
So we should
legislation.
form the legislation.
So for me personally, having been part of the original recommendation, I just like wanna get the government study going and like, let's let those chips fall where they might, as opposed to us spending our time working on it. That's my personal opinion, so.
How long did it take for the last, because I'm surprised that you're saying 5 to 7 years.
I don't know
And
how
I'm
long
only
the
saying
government
this 'cause I don't
study
know.
will take. I mean, I literally have no idea, because we haven't
Started.
How long did it take to get the town manager legislation
The
through?
town manager legislation, we put together the language, and then we went to town meeting, and then I don't think it was that long. I mean, 1 to 2, I don't remember. I couldn't tell you.
all I'm saying is, especially because people stood up at the meeting,
No, I hear you.
that, you know, we should maybe
I mean-
listen you know, yeah, it's gonna take some time, but at least people know we're working on it.
I mean, I think the other piece that I heard really clearly is about this serving on multiple committees. And that, to me, is a solution that we could also be working on that's more important to me, is that we have a town of how many voters in this town? The pool is endless. And so why do we get the same folks volunteering for the same committees? We shouldn't ever have this problem. There's plenty of talent out in the community. So for us, I feel like it's more of a recruitment problem than anything else. That, like, you know, we do advertise and we do talk about it and we do put it out there, but like, why are we not getting folks?
Well, I mean, I think that people get burnt out in committees.
I know.
They hear from other committees about what a time constraint it is.
Time
I mean,
sucking.
come on, you know, I mean.
No, I know.
I know why we're having trouble recruiting.
I understand, but you know, I'm just saying the issue out loud because
Yeah.
that to me is more egregious than like who's the appointing person and whether or not people are getting
Well,
the
I think they
opportunity
go hand
to
in hand.
volunteer.
I think they go hand in hand because if you want a wider circle, you have to make sure
Right, you
that
have to-
everybody, you know, is welcome to volunteer.
Right.
And I had hoped this would be not this a big a conversation, but and maybe we don't solve it tonight. But where I sit, we heard people at town meeting 2 weeks ago, you know, who had some real problems with these, and I think it should be a show of good faith if we take it up. Yeah, it's going to take time, but at least people know we're doing something about it.
What was the vote on that? Do you remember what the
Both
vote count was?
passed.
Like
It
54
was-
to
It was-
48
it was-
or
they were
something.
pretty
Yeah,
close.
they were pretty
They're both
close.
pretty close.
One of them was really close. The other one, the first part was a slam dunk yes.
Yeah, it was a slam
The
dunk.
second one was a yes, but it was like almost 50-50.
Okay, the second half of that was the multiple
The
committees.
multiple committee one, yeah.
Yeah.
So if the first part was a slam dunk, then how many people were really disgruntled by this?
And there was only 100
Yeah.
people there.
Yeah,
No,
there were-
I
I mean,
think
it's like
there were,
such a small
yeah.
sampling of
So,
people.
So
I-
it's really, how I'm looking at this is, we really have two choices. We can wait and just put it on the government study and be done with it. Or we can, you know, make some changes, have it go to town meeting, and then it goes to the legislature.
I
And
just feel we have this, we're here already, it's 9:30 at night.
Now it's 9:30.
I'm just saying, like,
yeah,
I don't know if this board can tackle that more stuff. We can't even get to the agenda in
I
time.
know.
These meetings should be like 2 hours long tops.
yeah.
And they're like turning into 4-hour nights.
Well,
No
we
offense,
didn't,
I'm
we
not.
didn't even
So
start.
that's why I think the government study
the
committee could
appointments.
work on this and then bring it in front of the board and the board can then vote on it.
Like you
Because
just said.
they could be the sole tackling the one issue that needs to be tackled and spend an hour on it. And this board,
All right,
Vote
so
on
Me
it.
too.
I don't agree. And so let's table it for tonight. We'll put it on the agenda for next time.
I do have a question though.
Yeah.
If a committee were to come about where we wanted to be involved in the appointment of that, creation of that committee, we can, correct?
For the government study?
Nope. Nope.
I don't understand the question.
So you and I have talked about this before, where if we were to form a committee, who knows what it would be, but we as a board wanted to play a role in who was appointed to it.
Oh. Well, yeah, with new committees, again, I had nobody to request a recommendation from. So oftentimes I will bounce those off of a select board member to say this is
If we
like.
request if we were to request to collaborate with you on any given committee.
I would need to, well,
Would
new
you-
committees,
would you-
because there isn't a chair. But if there's a chair of a committee, the legislation says I'm to consult with that committee.
Yeah,
not
no,
the
I'm
select
talking
board.
about a brand new committee, you would oblige us.
I would, yes. Jen
Okay.
and I Jen and I formed a committee a year or two ago. I forget what it was, but
Formed a
I
committee.
basically had to say, you know, Jen, what do you think of it? Or maybe it was somebody, maybe it was Ed. But I had
What
nobody
happened to the committee?
I had nobody to, so we formed, I forget which committee it was.
There's so many committees.
No,
Yeah.
well, we need to.
I
we
just
need
wanna
to-
make sure
was it the
that,
cultural district committee?
All right, well,
But
anyway.
regardless, yes, I have to, because I have nobody else to. So
Okay.
in light of the fact that it's a new committee, I have to go back to the board, at least somebody on the
well,
board and
we
say.
haven't heard from you on taxation aid committee though.
Right,
That was a new committee and we
Yeah.
didn't play a role in that.
but we didn't turn anybody away, we're lucky we had enough people, and they were all qualified, that's why, so,
Okay.
yeah,
But if I'm just trying to get a clear response.
yeah.
If there is a
Yes.
committee that, okay, thank you.
That's the clear response.
Thank you.
But yes, and if, going forward, if you want more of a collaboration on new committees, I will
Okay.
do that. We had, the tax committee is 5 members, 2 prescriptive, 3 people from the general public. We had 2 people come in, and I had to twist arms to get a 3rd person. So it wasn't like I had 10
Okay,
interested parties.
Yep.
If I did, I would have had to consult with somebody to help me pick and choose.
okay,
But we had to have Mike Caney, he was here tonight from the Board of Assessors, agreed to join as the representative of the assessors. Sarah Mann, the treasurer collector, is prescriptive. And then we had, like I said, 2 applications, and the 3rd person was a little bit of arm twisting, so we got the committee formed.
okay.
So, yeah, that's why I didn't have to reach out to anybody and say, let me handle this. You know, you want this person or that person.
Okay. So we'll table this for now and come back to it at a later time, okay?
It passed in 2024, and it went to town meeting in 22 or 23.
Okay, I'm going to move this along. So, town managers report.
Okay. Okay. Hampshire County Group Insurance Trust. I've been attending the executive committee meetings. I apologize. I know we wanted a health insurance update on the agenda. I didn't put it on, but I can,
It's okay.
as part of this.
Yeah,
So I've been attending the meetings, listening in. I know Nicole has too. The executive committee has been interviewing consultants to fill in while they look for a replacement of Joe Shea. I don't know what that's going to look like yet, if they're going to have somebody come in permanently, temporarily,
okay.
run the whole trust, or just portions of it. But they're trying to come up with a plan to cover for him while he's gone.
So they do want someone to head it up still.
Well, we don't know that yet. I think
Okay.
there's still some.
All right.
And I don't know if any decisions have been made since the last meeting I attended. But I know they're working with consultants right now, trying to come up with a plan. I just don't know what that plan is.
Do they meet monthly?
They've been meeting, they met.
Weekly.
Weekly?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay,
They
well,
met
that's
3
good.
times in the last few weeks, just trying to get through this with.
As well they should.
Mm.
And you're
Yeah.
still attending?
I'm still
Good.
attending.
So in the meantime, we are still working with our broker to go out to bid for a market rate. We've got some additional information from the GIC, and we are currently looking at whether or not there's a savings there to be had
I looked at the GIC rates this morning
as compared to
as compared to ours.
Yep.
And
with the benchmark plan.
yes, so there are 2 plans that are slightly cheaper than the plans that we offer, but the networks are significantly smaller, so you can't consider them to be, it's not comparing apples to apples. It wouldn't be a lateral move.
Right. Did you get the benchmark plan from
No,
that?
no. I didn't get the benchmark
Okay,
plan
I have
because,
it.
which one is it?
Oh, I don't know.
Is it the Harvard Pilgrim Explorer?
Yes, it's the Explorer. It's the
Okay.
one right in the middle.
Okay.
Yep.
So that's going to be more expensive than, so that one's $11.87 a month for a single, $1,187 a month, versus ours, which is $1,007
Yes.
for a single. So right there, that's why.
Preliminarily, that's what we found. And the bigger issue I have with the GIC is that they don't have a single +1 plan. So if there's
Yeah.
a couple,
It's going to
Yeah.
kill the families.
they go directly to the family plan, which is even more expensive.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
for Belchertown, and this is still under review, so don't take this as set in
No,
stone here.
yeah.
But preliminarily, it looks like the GIC will cost us more money. So that's not a good thing, because we were hoping that there'd be some relief there. But we are still looking at Maya. We are looking at the open market, and I know that the trust is also going out to bid for a new provider, because right now they're with Blue Cross Blue Shield, and they're going to test the waters themselves. So there's a lot of things in the works.
Okay.
So again, it's a fluid situation, and just stay tuned. Joanne and I and Nicole are spending a lot of time on this.
Thank you.
So I didn't mean to focus that much on that, but let's see. Anything else on here we should talk about tonight?
The draft lease with Eric Duda, any,
Yeah, that's on our
Progress.
executive session tonight.
oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Forgot we had that. Okay.
Yeah, so I think, I've been meeting with the EDIC a lot. We also have a MOU to discuss on executive session
Okay.
tonight. So unless you have questions, we can.
I don't. Does
Okay.
anyone else? Jen? Okay. Thank you, Steve. I appreciate that. Any review of the weekly mail?
Just note that the library got a $130,000 grant.
Yes.
That was mine. I was going to
I
take
know,
that.
but it's usually Whitney. She's done that.
I know.
I just wanted to mention that for.
Go ahead.
So they got denied the grant, and the state had overflow funds, and so they granted the grant.
They denied the grant?
Yeah, so they applied last year,
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
just so folks are aware of what happened. So until that project is now complete, they cannot reapply. It's open right now, the Cultural Facilities Fund. That's why we're mentioning it.
The only 2 things I want to mention is the Belchertown Police Department, was awarded the state accreditation status by the Mass Police Accreditation Commission in June 2023. And what they have to do to keep that accreditation, which I thought was pretty amazing, is that they must meet all 257 mandatory standards. And then there's a whole bunch of additional ones. And so it's something to be really proud of. And also the school fire safety visit by Madison Dexter was, I guess, a resounding success. And so kudos to Maddie. and to Chief John Ingram. Okay, so now, individual board member reports. John?
You always want to go first.
Do you want me to go with someone else?
I'll go first. It's fine.
All right.
I'll try to be quick. Where's that? 21 October, I went to Council on Aging. Whitney was also there. First time I've ever been there. Great group of people. They're talking about getting a new van. I think they're going to apply for some funding. 30,000 is coming from the Friends of the Senior Center, and the other 70-ish thousand is going to come from different grants and funding from the town they're going to submit for. They're in the process of getting a new van, but they need one that's outdated. It'll be a little bit smaller, but more handicap accessible and stuff for our residents. That's a big thing I got to take away from there. 22 October, we had a select board meeting in the daytime, an executive session meeting. Attended that, just so the public knows. 22 October, we did the Hazardous Mitigation Committee public hearing. So everyone knows there's 2 public hearings. This was the second public hearing on that. Then it'll go to FEMA, then come back before the board for final approval. So FEMA has to approve it, then it comes to the board for final approval. That's hazard mitigation is about safety of like storms, and if there's hazards around, like a snowstorm, what do we do and that kind of stuff like that, or a flood issue. So there's a plan adapted for that. Then once we get that approved, we can apply for grants for the town. It opens up to a bunch of federal grants, state grants for us. But we have to have this plan in place for 5 years. It's a 5-year plan, and every 5 years we review it. But then we can apply for these grants to get things repaired.
Who are the people that have been working on that?
Fire chief, Linda,
Conservation, Minor Valley Planning Commission,
and a representative. Is she from FEMA or MEMA? FEMA, right? MEMA, Massachusetts Safety Emergency. It's similar to FEMA, but it's our state.
Okay.
A lot of states don't have a state one. Massachusetts does.
Well, that's just interesting to know who's working on that. That's great.
Yep, we have Cheryl Dutton. She joined as a community member. So there's a pretty good core group of people.
Okay.
And we're working on it.
So we have community members also involved
Yeah.
in it. Wow, that's impressive.
The whole fire department's been putting their input, so I sent it to all of you to review too, just so you have a
Thank you.
working copy of it. McPherson Garden Center, I stopped in there afterwards. They're trying to form a nonprofit called the Guardians of the Garden. I said, mentioned it. They're looking for volunteers to help form this group so they can get funding additionally to fund the garden and take care of the garden without using taxpayers'
Do we
taxpayer
have
dollars.
Friends of, or no?
They're going to call it the Guardians of the Garden. That's their name, but they're trying to form a friends group, kind of similar. You can probably explain it more later.
Do they already have a Friends group?
I don't, so. My brain's gonna melt.
Yep.
Okay, keep going.
Yeah,
Sorry.
at this point, it doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter. I'm just mentioning it also we can. 23 October Communication Committee. I did virtual. They did talk about the AI in government. There's a lot about that change. It's ever going. The Town Chronics paper, and they talked about the communication plan. So they're working on that. They're going to make that like a living document through like a website. That seems to be the best thing because it's ever flowing. Communication is not something that can just be current today and then tomorrow it could dramatically change. So they're going to work with something like a website of some sort to make it and then roll it out that way maybe. So they're still working on ideas how to roll that out for all of us to make life easier for everybody. Special town meeting we attended on 27th October, 28th October I did the board assessor. We talked about the tax rate stuff, so I was forefront on that. 29th October EDIC, I was virtual. I'll let you guys talk on that. You guys were more in person. You can talk about that. 31 October I did the Chamber of Commerce with the legislative breakfast with Steve and Whitney. Secretary was Abby there. Chief Ingram was there. That was a good meeting, good breakfast. They talked about current events with SNAP benefits. So it got me thinking about what can we do in this town to help people with SNAP benefits. So I dug into that, and there's a food drive email. Kate has been putting together and putting resources together for our residents. So if you call up and say, hey, I need food, we can direct them to the right place to get them the right information.
That's
live now, so we've been working with that.
Who's heading that up?
Yep.
Kate, and Officer Lozier, I think, was helping collect food to the police association. So the town's working on it, just to let the residents know. We have help out there, trying to get them the help they need.
But if people need food assistance, there's now a list of resources on the town website of places that they can go.
Have people been,
I don't know that.
okay.
Yep.
I mean, do we know
went
if
live
anyone?
last week,
I'm
so
sorry.
It only went live last week.
Okay,
So I don't know how many
Okay.
placements or how many hits have been on it.
okay.
Uh, 1 November, we did a grant presentation for Little League. Jen, Steve, and I were there. 25K to help Little League. The Senator Jake Oliveira was there, and State Rep Aaron Saunders were there. Remind you of the Veterans Day ceremony. The luncheon is Thursday, 6th November at the Senior Center. The Veterans Day ceremony is at BHS, Belchertown High School, 11 November at 11 a.m. Guest speaker is Major Marty Brittari. He's still serving, and he's the VHS football coach. Scouts will be there, the chorus and the band will be there. I just want everyone to be invited. If you're free, come on down. I had something about the taxation committee meeting on here. We had no committee member for it. I saw it, so I'll volunteer to, if we need a person, I'll volunteer for that.
Okay,
But that's up to you guys to decide.
thank you. Nicole?
October 26th, Lisa and I attended the graveyard tours hosted by the Belchertown Historical Association. October 27th, I attended the webinar that was hosted by Lieutenant Governor Kim Driscoll regarding the Hampshire County Group Insurance Trust. The topic was the steps that would be required if we wanted to go to the GIC. Just something to keep in mind too about GIC, even though we know the rates are more expensive, but also in order to join the GIC, you've got to send in a binding letter of intent no later than December 1st to go live for the following July 1st. And during that time, we would have to put together what's called a PEC, which is a public employee committee, which brings in like the union reps and non-union and all that, and they'd all have to come together and work on plan design and everything. It's a huge undertaking to go to GIC, aside from the fact that the rates don't even make any sense. So I'm just not feeling like that's the way to go, and we should be looking at other options like Maya. But just something to be aware of. That was hosted by Kim Driscoll. I was really impressed by her. I mean, she really dove into insurance and
It was one of the more informative.
She was very good.
things
Yeah.
that I've listened to.
Yeah.
She's very no nonsense, yeah.
Yeah, but Aaron Saunders and Jake were on the call as well. 10/28 went to the school committee meeting. Enrollment continues to drop with the schools. MCAS scores remain below the state average with the exception of like one group, 10th grade. And then 10/29 Hampshire County Group Insurance Trust again, where we interviewed a consultant. And then also EDIC that same evening.
You want to talk about that?
EDIC?
Okay. Or
not really.
Okay.
No.
All right.
No, I'd rather you.
Pushing it down the road.
Jen?
What is important? I went to an arts advocacy group that is forming for our Hampshire, Hampden, and Franklin County, and so to that end, I'm going to this Western Mass Economic Summit next Friday.
Excellent.
We'll see what they have to say about all of that. That is the biggest things. I went to the Fenway thing, and then we just continued, just keep working on all this stuff.
Okay, well, I did a bunch of stuff, but I only want to focus on EDIC. And so Nicole and John and I were at the most recent EDIC meeting on, what date was it?
29th.
29th. And, you know, it was a very good meeting, a lot of good discussion. Some of the key takeaways with that is that the board wants to look at memorializing a lot of their data. and look at how the committee operates. Look at what the original charge was, and to, what else? And to, basically look at what the roles are, what the chair does, vice chair, all of that. So they're really taking an inward look at themselves
And how they communicate with each other,
yeah.
keeping a record of communications so that they're not all sitting with one individual.
That's right. So, and I think that's healthy for any committee. And so the EDIC is doing that work right now. And I think that's really all I'm able to say right now. Oh, yes.
I'm sorry.
Back to Jen.
I'm so sorry. I forget to write things down. So Thursday, I'm going to miss the luncheon because I'm going to go with our new grants manager to the one-stop announcements.
Oh.
So at our next meeting, we'll be able to talk freely about all of our grants.
That's excellent.
That's it. Okay, go.
Okay, questions? Any questions from the media? Okay, hearing none, do I hear a motion to close the meeting?
Motion to adjourn.
Second. Oh, no, we're going into
now we're
executive
going to
session.
executive.
Move to
Sorry.
enter into executive session, not to return to open session,
That's right.
MGL-C 30A, Section 21, subsection 6, to consider the purchase, exchange, lease, or value of real estate if the chair declares that an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on negotiations positions of the public body. Cold Spring School, 6 and 8 Berkshire Ave, Tagil, and MOU extension with Mass Development and EDIC. And subsection 7, to comply with or act under the authority of any general or special law or federal grant and aid requirements approved of executive session meeting minutes.
Second.
Okay, this is a roll call, so,
Yes.
yes?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, and we are done at 9:45.